Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Jock Market. We're back at it again, 8-game slate, and no different than yesterday from an injury standpoint. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D on Twitter, LOUGHY_D, along with Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Adam, I filled in for the ailing Greg Ehrenberg. Send some well wishes over to Greg Ehrenberg on the Twitters if you want to. A little under the weather. It'll be Terry and Eric after us. Filled in for the injury show with you. And the crazy part now is that players are able to return on a shortened quarantine period, but you still have no idea because you don't know if they're conditioned enough to actually get on the court.
Yeah, exactly. It's just more news you have to pay attention to. You still have guys testing positive. Now you have guys clearing earlier, but then you have them not being ready to play. So it's still just a mess. It's even more news to pay attention to.
How you feeling today?
Other than allergies, feeling pretty good.
Yeah, there's dog allergies.
Yeah, always been allergic to dogs, but when I was a kid, whatever, I got used to it. But then now I don't have a dog, so when I come home, it just messes with me.
You could get one of those ugly hypoallergenic ones.
Yeah, but who wants an ugly dog?
No, I mean, people love them.
Yeah, I know.
Those Chinese, what are they called? You know what I'm talking about, right? They're just flat out bald, heinous looking creatures. And I'm a dog guy. No?
I'm good.
Chinese crest, something like that. I don't know. People in chat always know stuff. They'll tell me what it is. But yeah, I'm not getting a cat either. Anyway.
Yeah,
man,
super allergic to cats.
Yeah. They just don't like people.
They like me, which is a problem because it just makes it worse.
I guess some of them are friendly, right?
I don't have that many interactions with them, but yeah, they've always liked me, and I hate it because then they're just close to me, and it's miserable.
All right. Nah, Gerald, Shih Tzu, you're fine, man. You're fine. Anyway, no, it's not a Shar-Pei. I'm telling you, look it up. It's a super just goofy looking, almost hellish looking creature straight from the pits of Satan's realm. I'm telling you, man, there's no one out there that has one of these. I can't imagine they do. But it's from, I shouldn't even admit, my wife was watching the show the other day, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. You know what I'm talking about, right? Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Yeah.
And she got one in that movie. Don't know what it's called. Chinese something. Ugly. Anyway, let's talk basketball. We got 8 games to break down.
Somebody say, can we please focus on solving the case of JonBenet Ramsey? The brother did it. The family covered for it. There you go.
Wait, was it solved?
No. I mean, no, but I've already figured it out. That's the answer.
But hold on. Like, is this in the news right now, or is this dude just had a moment?
No, I think he just randomly wanted to talk about JonBenet Ramsey, but
okay, yeah, you're in the right place, guy.
but I'm always down to talk some JonBenet Ramsey. But yeah, brother did it, family covered it up.
You're convinced?
Yeah, brother did it by accident, family covered it up, and that's it.
How do you accidentally? How old was the brother? He was pretty young too, right?
He was I think he was 9 or something.
How do you accidentally do it? If that was the case, why wouldn't they just be like, our son accidentally killed our daughter?
I don't remember the circumstances anymore, but I think it was basically he hit her in the head with a bat or something, and she died, and then they covered it up.
Oh yeah, typical mistake. His story's falling apart, man. It is an interesting story, though. I like that stuff. People are too obsessed with the true crime stuff these days. They're afraid to leave their house now. Every true crime podcast out there, you go on Netflix, there's a new one every single day. Although the Unsolved Mysteries was pretty good.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
The guy that fell off the roof and they found him in the building. And
yeah, that was in Baltimore. It was 3 miles from me.
Oh, okay. Nice. Let's talk basketball. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Appreciate all of you 126 who have already done so. But if not, help us combat the YouTube overlords. You know how it works around here. We got to feed the faceless, voiceless, nameless algorithm to keep doing what we do and build this channel. And we've done so with the help of all of you guys. 69,600 now, 100 closer, 400 away from 70K. Let's get there. Let's get to 100K so we can get that plaque and I can steal that and put it on my wall. I think I deserve it. All right. And if you want to join the channel, hit that join down below. Get the custom emojis, the free super chats each month. the badges that improve over time. We'll always shout you out, of course, and at priority question asking comments along with our premium Discord members. You ready to do this?
Yep.
Milwaukee, Orlando. And by the way, if there is any news that I've somehow missed that has dropped recently, just let me know, because I was putting the run sheet together and there's just so much. So feel free to cut me off if that's the case. But Milwaukee, from an injury standpoint, they're not really dealing with a whole lot of trouble here. One of the few teams that is looking decent. They're 14.5-point road favorites, Adam, 215.5 total. The weird thing is, it's nice to break down a team that doesn't have a lot of injuries because it just makes life a whole lot easier. But it makes them, in most cases, not all the time, obviously, but oftentimes it makes them less attractive as a team because they're all accurately priced and nobody's out, which isn't going to siphon usage and bigger minutes elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a essentially healthy team. Brook Lopez still out, but other than that, everybody back. DeMarcus Cousins started the last game. Bobby Portis came off the bench. Not sure if that'll continue, but doesn't really matter at these prices. There's not a whole lot to see here, I don't think, other than Giannis always in play. He's one of the best per minute fantasy producers in the league. He's in a really good matchup against Orlando. Plenty of blowout risk here, but he's also one of the lowest owned stars on the slate. So I do like him in tournaments. But outside of that, you have Holiday priced up from when Giannis was out. Middleton's priced up. Portis is pretty expensive. It's really tough to get to anything else, I think.
Someone asked if we've seen The Wire. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen it until, I think COVID.
Yeah, that was bad. I'm happy that you got through it. You should rewatch it again.
I've seen it at least twice.
The rewatch.
Actually, no, I guess I watched it before COVID, and then when I spent the year at my mom's, I made her watch it start to finish. So I've seen it. Like it? Yeah.
Nice. The rewatch for me was great because I watched it when it aired back in 2004 to 2009. So I was a lot younger back then, And then you watch it again at 30. What am I, 34? And it's just it's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it just because I started watching it right after I moved to Baltimore. So there were a lot of spots where it was just oh, I know where that is.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, yeah. And there was one on the docks. I'm assuming different dock from where your view is.
It's across the water. I can see the silo point
really
out my window. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And Clownin said, "Did anyone catch that Laffy likes watching chick flicks?" Well, I wasn't watching that, but yeah, a decent chick flick is 100% okay with me.
Yeah, no issues with chick flicks. No, and yes, I'm watching the new Dexter. It's really good.
Which one?
The new Dexter.
The new Dexter's fantastic. I did not watch the last episode yet, so don't say anything. Do you watch Succession too?
Yeah, I'm on season 1.
Oh, it's great, man. It's good stuff. Good stuff. And Yellowstone. Oh, come on. Great time for TV, fellas. If you're not watching basketball or watching The Deeper Dive, check those out.
Somebody just tweeted at us they didn't think that JonBenet Ramsey was on the run sheet.
Who tweeted that?
Somebody said it's always hilarious when you guys go completely off the run sheet with JonBenet Ramsey and Unsolved Mysteries.
When do we ever go on the run sheet?
You didn't have it in there before game 1, JonBenet Ramsey?
As long as someone doesn't use that stupid, I didn't have JonBenet Ramsey on my bingo card today. I mean, that is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Am I wrong though?
No, you're not.
It's so stupid. It's of course you didn't have, if you had that on your bingo card, you would be Nostradamus. Of course you didn't have that on your bingo card. So just please stop with that shit. You guys know I'm right. If you've used it, you still know I'm right. Orlando, no Cole Anthony again. Okiki's out. Suggs is still out. I mean, they got a bunch of guys out, but nothing in a huge way has changed over the past couple of days since their last game.
Yeah, it's still a very, very short-handed team, but the pricing for the most part has come up to where I think it's pretty difficult to be excited about too much here. Only a 101 implied total for Orlando. Franz Wagner's likely to get a lot of usage with Suggs and Anthony out. Gary Harris looks fine, but really the only thing that stands out to me is DraftKings specifically, RJ Hampton at 3,200. He played about 32 minutes off the bench last game. Without Suggs or Anthony on the floor this season, I'm pulling the numbers up now to double check, but I think it's a 21.5%, 22% usage rate and a 27% assist percentage. So he's been very involved without those guys out there. And at 3,200, he looks like one of the better values. 21.5% usage, 27.8% assist percentage, 0.82 DraftKings points per minute on only a 43% true shooting percentage.
Not great. Is there anybody from Orlando then that you're looking to target today? I mean, you broke down Milwaukee. Obviously, Giannis is always going to be in play. It's just Okay, so I know Hampton's ownership. What's he at? 42% right now, I think. The the rest of this team is just getting zero ownership whatsoever. How much of Hampton do you want at that ownership would be the best way to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what you're doing with the rest of your lineups. He's obviously really popular. And if you look at the boom bust tool, he's going a little bit over-owned in the sense that we have him projected for like 41% ownership, and he's got like a 30% chance of being in the optimal lineup, but he still has a boom percentage of about 60%. So it's all just about, can you find pivots elsewhere, in which case you're fine going to Hampton. If you already have some chalkier pieces in there, like if you're already playing Ricky Rubio and Yurtseven and LeBron or something, yeah, maybe you don't want RJ Hampton there, but easily one of the better values.
It says, I didn't have Laffy hating the phrase. I didn't have that on my bingo card. Well played, sir. Let's talk about Washington if there's nothing else from this first game.
Yeah.
Okay. Washington Wizards. This one's kind of interesting. They're 6.5-point dogs against Miami. Both sides of this one are pretty interesting. Low total, 208.5. But right now, and we're still waiting on some news, particularly relating to Bradley Beal. He's questionable. Aside from that, you've got guys like Aaron Holiday, Raul Neto, Anthony Gill, those type of, secondary guys, those role players that are all out on the COVID list. But with Bradley Beal, if he ends up being out again against a depleted Miami team, what do you do?
If Beal is out, I think that's a nice benefit for Spencer Dinwiddie. He's gotten expensive. He's at 6,800, but he's been very, very productive without Bradley Beal this season. We see the playing time go up, and then the productivity is kind of just off the charts without Beal. So he would still look like a reasonable option at 6,800. He's played 5 games without Beal now. He's averaged 34 minutes per game, 1.43 DraftKings points per minute, 30.2% usage rate, 42.2% assist percentage. Just basically been a totally different player without Beal. So if Beal is in, I think it's very difficult to get to Dinwiddie, even if you think he's going to continue to play mid-30s in minutes. But if Beal is out, Dinwiddie still looks pretty good.
All right. Now, right. Oh, and another one, too. I don't know how much this matters. We talked about it earlier this morning. I think I actually forgot to put this one on the run sheet somehow. I don't know how. But Montrezl Harrell is also out. It's not that he gets a ton of minutes, but if you're coming in as a very good per minute guy that can soak up boards and just overall around the basket type usage, Adam, in the 25 minutes per game he's playing this season, a little bit less lately, kind of erratic. With him being sidelined, what do we do with the front court and guys like Gafford?
It makes Daniel Gafford look really interesting because I don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to play. We haven't had a game yet where Harrell is out and Gafford is in, but the kind of volatility there or lack of knowing exactly what to expect makes him appealing in tournaments where he's only getting 12% ownership. I understand why the ownership's relatively low because there are a lot of very good center options that we can feel a little bit more confident in their playing time. But we have seen several games this year where Harrell plays without Gafford. And in those games, Wes Unseld Jr. essentially just made Montrezl Harrell a traditional starting center where he played 34 to 36 minutes. There's no guarantee he does the same thing with Gafford. But at the same time, if Gafford can avoid fouls here, there's nobody really behind him. The Wizards just announced that they signed Alize Johnson to a 10-day. I assume if he's active, he could be the backup center. Otherwise, it's like Isaiah Todd. Rui is out. Harrell obviously out, like you just said. Anthony Gill being out, like he's a guy that they've used in emergencies as a big as well. So there's no real reason to think that if he avoids fouls, that they wouldn't run Gafford out there for a lot of minutes here. He's over a fantasy point per minute player. He's relatively inexpensive. He's going up against a depleted Miami front court. So at relatively low ownership, I do think it's pretty interesting to, kind of just gamble on him and hope that you get 30 plus minutes.
All right. Making sure we, any news here. Is Alize Johnson going to play?
I'm assuming. I haven't seen confirmation, but
he landed in Miami and he's on his way to the arena. So he's playing.
Yeah. I assume he's going to be like the backup center.
Yeah, you would think so. Anything else for Washington?
If Beal is out, you could see Denny Avdia slide into the starting lineup at 4,400. Also, Corey Kispert likely to start at 3,700 is a decent value, but he's more so like a decent value in the sense that on a normal NBA slate, he's a good value more so than on this particular NBA slate.
Miami, flip it to the other side of this one. Gets it even more intriguing because, well, Bam's been out, right? Kyle Lowry's out. Dwayne Dedman's out. PJ Tucker, we're still waiting on word here. He's questionable with a leg injury. And then I'm throwing this in there just because he was playing minutes lately with the injuries. Udonis Haslem was a part of the rotation, 12 and 11 minutes over his last two games, Adam. He's in the health and safety protocol now as well. So, I mean, the obvious place to look, Omer Yurtseven.
Yeah, he looks like a good value. He's basically the same price point as Daniel Gafford, and he's one of the guys that I was referring to where he's going to get more ownership. He should get more ownership, but it's mostly just because we know what to expect from him, whereas Gafford still has a wider range of outcomes. We've already seen the game where Yurtseven starts and plays like 33 minutes. It happened last time out, I believe, for Miami. So it's just, people are going to look at that and they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. And so you could certainly see somebody like Gafford beat Yurtseven, but he's greater than a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. He's likely to play 30 plus minutes here. He's played a total of 147 minutes without Adebayo or Lowry on the floor this year. He's at 1.11 DraftKings points per minute. He looks like one of the better value options on the slate.
Yeah, right. What's his ownership at? Because I think we just got an update just like 20 or 15 minutes ago. 31% on DraftKings. I mean, that seems to make sense. He's not dirt cheap, right? Like you're not getting him for free, but at a center position, how many minutes are you projecting him for?
If Tucker is out, I feel pretty confident he plays north of 30. Even if Tucker's in, he certainly could still get like 30, 32.
Well, who would play behind them? I mean, they'd have to go just small.
Right, especially with Haslem out. Like you said, Haslem played 11 minutes last game. Yurtseven played 33. Now you do have a small Washington backup most likely as well.
Where are you at on Jimmy Butler, especially with Lowry out?
I think Butler looks great. He's 9,300 on DraftKings, but he's been fantastic without Adebayo on the floor this year. He's played a total of 199 minutes now without either one of Adebayo or Lowry. 32% usage rate, 27% assist percentage, 13.5% rebounding percentage. He's averaged 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. You're likely to get 35 plus minutes from him. So I think Butler looks very good. Better on FanDuel at 8,500, but also pretty good on DraftKings at 9,300.
Anything else for Miami you want to get into here?
Yeah, Tyler Hero at 6,800 I think is pretty appealing. He's only projected for 8% ownership. And on the one hand, I get it because this is just a slate where it's going to be really easy to find cheap value and then to pay up at other spots. But you shouldn't be dissuaded at all or anything by Hero's most recent game. He played 19 and a half minutes, but he was ejected in the third quarter. He's played 300 minutes without Bam or Lowry on the floor this year. 1.21 DraftKings points per minute, 33% usage rate. Obviously, not all of those minutes were alongside Butler, but they won't all be alongside Butler tonight either. So I think he's interesting. And then the biggest wild card to me probably is Caleb Martin at 4K, because this is someone that was ahead of Vincent and Max Strus in the rotation prior to his absence, which I think was COVID related. He came back, played off the bench last game, played 29 minutes. It wouldn't be surprising if one, he's in the starting lineup, or two, he just plays another 30 minutes off the bench at 4K and low ownership.
Okay. I like that. What'd you say he was? 8%?
Hero is 8, Martin is 2.
Okay. Damn. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How big of a rotation do you think they run today? 8?
Depends on Tucker.
If Tucker's out.
If he's out, then probably, I think it's going to be 8 or 9. They ran 9 last game. That was including Haslem. If Tucker's in, I assume you just replace, not minutes wise, but I assume Tucker takes that spot. If Tucker is out, I think it's 8 or 9.
All right. Well, yeah. If that's the case, you're going to be getting a lot of additional minutes to go around against the Wizards. Hit that thumb. Oh, we're over 300 already. Good stuff. Appreciate you guys. Only asked once. Making progress. Oh, and
one small note. Sorry, we got the Orlando starting lineup. Robin Lopez is back in the starting lineup. He's only 4,300 on DraftKings, so that gives you another value center to look at.
Who do you like the most, Robin Lopez, Gafford, or Yurtseven?
Yurtseven, but I do think ownership should play a big role there because I think basically we know what to expect from Yurtseven. We don't really know what to expect from Gafford, but it wouldn't be surprising to anybody if he plays a bunch of minutes. And then Lopez could certainly play a bunch of minutes as well, and he's been very good this season. They do have a couple less bodies than they did. Well, they lost a couple of guys. Their 10 days expired, Aleem Ford and BJ Johnson. They did get Brazdeikis back. So I don't know exactly how minutes Lopez plays, but it wouldn't be shocking if he played a lot either.
All right. By the way, talking about ownership projections today, they're entirely free on the site. You do not need to have any subscription or even a login. I mean, it'd be cool if you want to. If you do, use the promo code NBA Live, get you 25%, everything on the site, every single sport, all of our tools, all of which created by Awesemo himself, #1 ranked player out there, and a lot of insanely smart, profitable DFS players behind the scenes working on these all the time. Eddie Lai, Sean Zahn, Steve Buzzard. I mean, these guys just crush night in and night out. But ownership projections are free. So are player projections for NHL. So jump in on that if you're not in a spot to sign up and become a premium member. But if you are, awesemo.com/join, we got you. NBA Live, all caps, all one word, will get you 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus. Let's talk about Philly and Toronto if you have nothing else for Miami. You good?
Nope. Yeah,
right, let's go to Philly then. Drummond is out. Shake Milton's out. Danny Green's still out. So these are things that we were aware of coming into this, or at least expected. Toronto they should get some guys back. It was looking really ugly earlier in the day if Siakam was going to be out. But it looks like they should be okay. Gary Trent looking like he's going to play as well. Achua might play now. But with Philly, mostly healthy outside of the backup center, a bench guard and then Danny Green. Where are you at on a very, very expensive Joel Embiid tonight?
If you get to him, that's fine. I mean, obviously the guy's capable of going for 70 plus anytime he's on the floor. It's not like it's a bad matchup against a shorthanded Toronto team by any stretch. The issue with Embiid is that he's a center, and there's a ton of really good value at center today. There's a ton of good mid-range centers. And then if you are paying up, you also have Jokic, who just pretty much always is going to look better than Embiid. So that makes it tough. But in any individual tournament lineup, he looks okay. Just extremely difficult to prioritize.
He really is. I mean, he's phenomenal, but I'll ask the same question I always ask you, just not to get ahead too far, but Joel Embiid at 12-1 or Jokic at 12-4?
Jokic.
Yeah. What are you doing with the rest of Philly? Is there anybody here for the Sixers against, I don't want to say a completely depleted Toronto team, but they're definitely not at full strength either.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see much else here like on this particular slate. Some $6,400 Tyrese Maxey, if he's going to play 36 minutes, is fine. But Harris is priced up. Curry's priced up for what he normally is. I don't really think you need to be getting to Matisse Thybulle on this slate. I think Philly's one of the least appealing teams.
Harris is 72 on FanDuel, which
that looks good.
Which is totally reasonable. He is going to be pretty popular, but for good reason. The Toronto side, though, this is where things get interesting because you have Siakam, who's likely to play now. You have Gary Trent Jr., who's also probable. Achua is questionable now. And then you're still down Fred VanVleet. You're still down Scotty Barnes. You're still out OG Anunoby. So still a lot of big pieces in this starting lineup missing, but it looks like they're going to get a couple back tonight as well.
Yeah, it kind of looks like we're getting the most boring version of Toronto that we could get for DFS. Siakam and Trent both probable to play. Not only is that taking minutes away from guys, but it's also taking productivity away. I mean, you saw the other day when Toronto was down to 8 guys, you just got like the massive game from Watanabe. You got a huge game from DJ Wilson. Wilson should be back on the bench now, probably not even in the rotation. Pascal Siakam and Trent are going to take usage away from guys like Watanabe. So it sort of takes... Like Pascal Siakam at 9,400 isn't going to look like a very good option. Gary Trent at 6,100 looks reasonable, but it also makes it so someone like Watanabe that saw their price tag jump to 5,300, he's still likely to play north of 30 minutes if he starts, but it's tough to expect him to really exceed that price tag when he has to share the ball with Siakam, Trent, and Boucher. Delano Banton, kind of the same thing. He lost some playing time in that blowout. He wasn't playing well anyway. At 4K, he still has a path to success here, but it's not nearly as clear a path when you have Siakam and Trent on the floor as well.
So, yeah, Bama said, I've noticed so many cast members of The Wire have gotten nice roles in movies and TV series this year. Wonder who? Yeah,
really? I didn't.
I feel like I just watched one with McNulty. When McNulty ready, Matt Savoke is a big Wire fan, and I was disappointed that he did not know this. and also thought that the senator was bunk, which incorrect, Matt. Hope you're watching, bro. Disappointing.
Yeah.
When McNulty or Bunk would ask each other if they wanted to go grab a drink at the end of the night, how would they ask?
I don't remember.
Someone will know. And I'm going to bring it back. When I ask someone, I'm not going to say you want to go get a drink. I'm going to say exactly what they said. Get this. Someone will absolutely know. And when I say it, you're going to be like, oh, how did I not know that? Anyway, anything else you want to get to with Clay Davis? Exactly.
Yeah, so I was about to say the name was Clay Davis, right?
Correct. Yeah, Clay Davis. The shit, not Bunk. Yeah. Did anyone get a taste? Douglas Dean nailed it. There you go. Anything else for Toronto?
No.
Jock Market, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. I don't know if you haven't signed up yet, but if that's the case, use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get a $50 bonus on your first deposit when you download the app, JOCK space MKT, and use the promo code Awesemo to sign up, deposit, get $50 right out of the gate. They've turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. You can make money every minute, every second, every hour by buying and selling shares of players in real time for real money. You got NFL, you got MLB, you got NHL, you got NBA, you got PGA. You also got a pre-game IPO to pick up shares of players that you like. When you watch our shows or you do your own independent research or you read our articles and you say, I like that. You can hold on to it. You can sell it. You can buy more shares throughout the day. Whatever the hell you want to do, they got it over there at Jock Market. And the best thing, first market guarantee, meaning Jock Market will refund any losses in your first NBA or NFL market up to $100. Believe that? Up to $100 free first market guarantee. Go and check it out at Jock Market. Download the app, use the promo code Awesemo, and of course, check out our free Jock Market IPO projections at awesemo.com. Free 365 days of the week. Jock Market, JOCKMKT, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. All right, let's keep moving here then. Lakers, Houston. I can't remember the last time we've spent a significant amount of time on the Lakers because it's usually like pretty straightforward. But LeBron is pulling some nice ownership today, coming in around 31% without Anthony Davis on the floor, going up against a bad Houston team that is going to play at a fast pace and also dreadful defense. So what do we do with LeBron today, given that he is one of those high-priced players? We've talked about Giannis. We talked about Embiid. We'll talk about Jokic. Where does somebody like LeBron settle in for you tonight?
He might be like the easiest to get to out of the expensive guys because he is more difficult tonight than he was last game because he's only power forward eligible on DraftKings instead of point guard, small forward. Not really sure how they came to that conclusion, but whatever. But he's still 11-3, so he's less expensive than Giannis. He's less expensive than Embiid and Jokic. He's got the better position than Embiid and Jokic. So he still looks really good. He's played 7 total games this year without Anthony Davis and with Westbrook. 1.64 DraftKings points per minute, 33% usage rate, 33.5% assist percentage, 37.5 minutes per game in a great matchup against Houston. Both of these teams play fast. Both of these teams suck defensively. Should be a lot of fantasy production to go around. So James looks great. The boom bust tool right now, we have him with a 32% chance of being optimal, about a 32% ownership projection. So ownership about where it should be, not too high, not too low. Just looks like a good piece to get to.
Okay. Russell Westbrook's pulling a little bit as well. And then outside of that, it kind of bottoms out. You got THT, you got Malik Monk getting a little bit mellow, coming in around 5%. Generally what you would expect to see on an 8-game slate like this. Westbrook is $1,100 less expensive than LeBron. And on a slate like this, even without Towns, even without a couple of high-priced players, Westbrook is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, assuming Beal plays, the 8th highest priced player on this slate.
Yeah, and I think he's okay in tournaments. You know, he is less expensive than the other guys. He does still have that ceiling, even if he's not going to reach it as frequently. But he really hasn't benefited in these games without Davis. He's got about a 28% usage rate, about a 28% assist percentage, 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. You can take it for what it's worth. He said in an interview the other day that essentially he's tired of hearing different things from different people about what he should do. He's going to just go back to doing what he does. I don't know if that means we're just going to see Westbrook triple-double constantly until LeBron James kicks him off the team or what, but I think that it's basically, it's the type of game that suits Westbrook. He certainly could go have a massive game, but the ownership's about where it should be there. Outside of him, I think that there's some guys you can kind of throw darts out on the Lakers. We do have Wayne Ellington out, which isn't a huge deal. He only played about 16 minutes last game. But the reason I think it's worth mentioning is that you got a ton of playing time last game from Malik Monk. You got a lot of playing time for Stanley Johnson. Ellington only playing 16 minutes. He was one of the guys that potentially could have taken those minutes back from those guys tonight. I think it makes somebody like Monk look a little bit better at 4,100 if you wanted to roll the dice there. And then Carmelo Anthony coming off of a huge game last time out. We saw him start the second half in place of Dwight Howard. He played most of the first half in place of Dwight Howard. If he stays in the starting lineup tonight at 4,900, he looks pretty good as well.
How about on the other side with Houston? Kevin Porter Jr. is off the injury report along with Jalen Green. Jayshawn Tate and KJ Martin, we got this news yesterday. They are playing the second of a back-to-back tonight. They're out. Garrison Matthews out. DJ Augustine out. Does that do anything for you against the Lakers team? That it's so funny. This season's we're a decent ways into the season now, but it's always been one of these Lakers teams that, at least for the past couple of years, has been respectable on defense. Good, really. And this year they're kind of just middle of the road, but it's also a Houston Rockets team that offensively has a 105 offensive rating, bested by, or only worse than, the Magic, Thunder, and Detroit Pistons. So that kind of tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton that you can prioritize from Houston. David Noel at 3,400 certainly looks like a reasonable value. He should get probably low to mid 20s in minutes, but he also is a solid fantasy producer. It's a game where he should produce at a high rate, but also potentially just play a little bit more to, defend LeBron or Westbrook. So Nwaba looks reasonable. He's also the highest owned guy on the team at about 12% on DraftKings. Christian Wood getting about 10% at 8,500 seems fine. Outside of that, I don't really see a whole lot. I mean, Jalen Green at 4,700 has a ceiling, but doesn't stand out at all on this particular slate. Houston's pretty tough to get to overall, I think.
Since we hit 400 likes, thanks guys. I want to ask you a question. And you can think on this, right? Because we still got some games to cover. Favorite and least favorite character from The Wire?
Oh, I thought you were doing an ad read, so I stopped listening. What was your question?
I said, since we hit 400 likes, I'll give you some time to sit on this. Think about it. Favorite and least favorite character from The Wire?
Okay. Favorite's easy. I don't know about least.
Omar?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Marlo to me, because the dude was just
Marlo. It's either Marlo or Omar.
I liked Avon too.
Avon, yeah, but I didn't like him as much as Marlo.
Carcetti's probably my least favorite. I couldn't stand that guy.
Yeah, but it's hard to count him as your least favorite because you weren't really supposed to like him.
Yeah, and I didn't. Okay, I see what you're saying. Then I didn't like Snoop.
I like Snoop.
She's all right. I was happy when he got.
I liked what was it, Mike?
Michael, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael was great, man. He was great. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't say Omar because that's you gotta admit the obvious answer is Omar to anybody, right?
Yeah, agreed. Marlowe's completely reasonable as well. I really like the actor in general, but he's another one actually. He was in Bosch. Speaking of actors that went on to do other stuff, Jerry Edgar.
I never saw that. Stringer's been in a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, Stringer's a huge star now.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan went on to big stuff. Wallace.
Yeah, there was a lot. I could talk about this all day, so let's keep going. One day we'll have to just do a Wire show.
Right.
I'm sure people will come and hang out with us. Look at chat right now. Everybody loves it. If you haven't watched it, just watch it so you can be
obvious answer is Bubbles for like or dislike, because you can't dislike Bubbles.
Oh, I think Bubbles is an excellent answer for favorite character. I love
Bubbles. For sure. I just didn't know which one.
Bubbles. That's a great answer. Great answer. Who else? We'll talk a little more basketball here, but there's got to be one where you just hated him. Can't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't. Like I'm with you. I didn't like Carcetti, but it wasn't like
to hate him.
Right. I can't think of a character where it was like, oh, this is supposed to be a character that you like, and I didn't like him.
Really did dislike Clay Davis as well.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to, like you said. Oh, I know. The Sergeant.
Prop Joe's a good one too.
Oh, No, to like, right? Not
Yeah,
dislike.
to like.
Love
Yeah.
Prep. I didn't like Cheese. Method Man. I didn't like him very much at all.
Yeah, I can see that one. I didn't really like what's his name from season 2.
Oh, Ziggy. That's a good one, Brian. Yeah, Ziggy sucks.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Loved his brother though. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Like I told you, see, the problem is chat starts going and then we start reading stuff off. Jordan, have you seen that show? Just tell me yes.
Herc, I can agree with this one. Herc.
I told you this is. Oh, fuck Herc, man! What he did to what's his name? What he did to him by bailing on him.
Yeah, so like Herc was
it was the Bubs. He screwed Bubs over and he got the shit kicked out of it.
Right, yeah. So like Herc, like he had enough qualities where like he had enough redeeming qualities where like you could like him, you kind of could like him, but he just did so many shitty things that you couldn't.
He did. All right, let's talk about.
And then he was in Entourage, or at the same time he was in Entourage.
See, I can't get you off of this. It's usually me. New York Knicks. We're actually making decent time though, so I'm not too worried about this. New York Knicks. They're another team. Like, yeah, Rose has been out. Nerlens Noel is out of this one, and then you've got some role players that are going to be sidelined today that I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on there. But they're getting essentially no ownership. They might have the lowest aggregate ownership of any team on this slate tonight.
Yeah, sorry.
I said the Knicks might be the lowest overall. You're killing me, dude. I should never have started this wire discussion.
You really shouldn't have.
Let me start again. The Knicks might be one of the lowest owned teams.
I heard what you said, but I was looking at Cleveland when you said it and was really confused what you were talking about.
Remember that episode where McNulty? I'm joking. All right, let's buckle down. Yeah, Knicks are going to be low owned. Is there anything you want to talk about?
No, I think it's a pretty tough team to get to. Kemba at 6,900 still seems reasonable, but you do also have Emmanuel quickly back, who probably cuts into his playing time at least a bit. Not saying that Kemba doesn't still play low to mid 30s, but it's pretty unlikely you're getting 40 minutes from him here. So tournament shots at about 5 or 6% makes sense at 6,900, but not any sort of priority. Julius Randle, kind of the same thing at 10.5. He still has a ceiling, but it's just hard to get to him over somebody like, Steph Curry at a similar price point, or just finding the money to get up to like a LeBron or a Giannis.
All right, flip to the other side of this one. Oh, I did like D too. I maybe that's a bad, not a bad take, but maybe I'm on an island. I like D'Angelo.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, he was all right in my book. Oh, his mom. There's my least favorite. Got it. His mom.
Oh, that's a good one.
Couldn't stand her, man. Or his girl. Those are two of the best answers you can get right there.
Yep.
Girl was banging string. Remember that?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, with the picture on the table.
Yeah. Next just wrong. Karl Anthony Towns, Russell, Edwards, all out. Edwards has cleared protocol, but he's not going to play again. That's the conditioning I was talking about. Vanderbilt out. Beverly probable. What do you make of? Yeah, Josh said Naaman's mom was the worst. Yes, absolutely, another good one.
So and I like Naaman too.
Michael's dad was the worst, and they took care of him.
Oh yeah,
they did. Chris was awesome, dude. Chris was the man.
Who?
Chris, Marlowe's henchman.
Oh yeah.
Chris was the man. Just complete sociopath.
Yeah.
Naz Reid, though, this is huge. So is he playing or not?
Yeah, so this one's tough because we had gotten Chris Finch saying that it was highly unlikely that anyone who cleared protocols today was going to come back because of conditioning. And then they've, explicitly said that most of these guys are not. Reed's still questionable, and it makes a huge difference because if he does come back, you had seen in the previous game, he played like 35 minutes to Nathan Knight's 13. I don't necessarily think he's coming right back and playing 35, 36 minutes again, but it would definitely make guys like Nathan Knight and Greg Monroe look a lot less appealing, a lot less safe, particularly in the case of Monroe, where he's 4,500, so you kind of need a full game out of him. Nathan Knight at 3,200 could certainly get there, even if he plays 20 minutes, but the Reed news is huge because if he's out, Nathan Knight is completely mispriced at 3,200. Greg Monroe offers value at 4,500. They played a bunch of minutes alongside each other yesterday as well, so they would both look good here if Reed is out, but if Reed's back, it just makes the whole thing a mess.
If it does, then do you get to anybody from this front court?
I think Beverly at 5,400 is appealing. I don't know how many minutes he plays. I have a hard time expecting more than like 28 to 30 because he did miss yesterday's game for conditioning issues. He was ruled in this afternoon for tonight's game. But you have him out there without D'Angelo Russell, without Anthony Edwards. He's been a good fantasy producer this season anyway. So I think he's a decent option. $5,400 Beasley is fine, regardless of Reed's status. Jalen Noel, I think, still looks okay at 3,800. I'm expecting McLaughlin to take a bigger hit from Beverly being back than Noel. Noel just gives you more in the way of bench scoring, and I think that he's still going to play a pretty big role there. So I think there's still pieces to get to on Minnesota if Reed is in, but it's more so the wings and ball handlers, whereas if Reed is out, those guys still look like good plays, but it's Nathan Knight that looks like the best play, and then Greg Monroe offers some value as well.
Let me ask you this, right? Slow-mo, Anthony Edwards cleared, but he's not expected to play. He's out. So let's say that Naz Reid is out. I know the Knicks play at one of the slowest paces in the league. Defensively, they're like bottom third of the league. They just haven't been particularly good there, but they play very slow. Would you have some lineups with Knight and Greg Monroe based on what they did last night in their split minutes?
I'd have a hard time playing them together tonight. Like you said, they did play a lot of minutes alongside each other yesterday. This is a Knicks team where you certainly could see that happen again. But I still think that with all of the other good plays on the slate and the fact that they're both centers, it's still just I would rather have one or the other and, say, okay, well, what if Monroe gets in foul trouble or something? Like the path to Knight having the biggest game is playing, him playing like 36 minutes, and that would be bad for Monroe and vice versa.
Someone said we're being extremely disrespectful to those that come here for basketball.
Yeah, I read that. I didn't really care.
We're still talking. We got plenty of time, man. Kick back, relax. Sometimes we get off track. It's okay. Anything else you want to hit on for Minnesota? I think we've covered most of it. It's just the Naz Reid news we're waiting on. 8:00 tip, by the way. So maybe we get it earlier than later. Hopefully.
Now I just want to talk about the Wire more.
What, just to spite him? All right. Well, Eric and Terry will cover the last 4 games on this slate. We have 4 games left. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Cleveland and the New Orleans Pelicans then. Cleveland is without Jared Allen still. Isn't it amazing that guy is a 5-figure price tag now? Just throwing it out there. It's pretty amazing how good he's become, particularly this year, the strides he's taken.
Yeah, for sure.
Darius Garland's out. Cedi Osman's out. Is Okoro earlier was out? Is he questionable?
He's questionable now.
I thought so. Okay, so he's questionable now. Just a heinous per minute guy, but he'll probably play big minutes in the event that he's active. What are we doing with the news that Darius Garland has landed in the COVID or health and safety protocol?
It makes Ricky Rubio look fantastic here. It's a good matchup against the Pels, and then you have Rubio, who's played 304 minutes this year without Sexton or Garland on the floor. 1.17 DraftKings points per minute, 27% usage rate, 41.7% assist percentage, just doing everything when he's out there. And he's still, priced for a starting role, but not for all of that extra production. So Rubio looks like one of the best plays on the slate, one of the best mid-range guys. He's a big reason why, like we talked about Tyler Hero only getting 8% ownership, Kemba only getting 7% ownership, because those guys look like good plays at their salaries, but they're just not on the same level as Rubio. So they still have a similar range of outcomes. They still can easily beat him, and you're getting like a 5-to-1 ownership discount. But if you're just talking chances of success, Rubio has to look better than those guys.
This guy is getting more advanced in his trolling. Like, he had one account blocked and then comes in, 2 seconds later, Jordan, with another account. It's a sad life you live, fella. But I'm appreciative that I take up that type of space in your dome. It's funny because he doesn't really even say anything that mean.
Somebody said y'all being really disrespectful to those who came here for the Wire talk.
I didn't catch the end of that until a second later. That's awesome. All right. Yeah. I mean, now everyone's just withdrawing all their entries, and we just hit 500 likes. So we can't be doing that bad, Adam.
Yeah, no, I think it's not going too poorly.
No. Anything else for Cleveland? Any tops, like big spots here other than Rubio?
Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff you can get to. We have Evan Mobley's questionable right now. If he comes back, I don't think he plays as many minutes as normal. I don't think he plays enough that I'd really want him at 8,100. It would be just a net negative for New Orleans because he's so good defensively, but it also would probably drive Kevin Love down a little bit. If Mobley's out, it's likely you're getting 24 to 26 minutes from Love. He's averaged 1.42 DraftKings points per minute without Garland or Sexton on the floor. So that would be somewhat interesting in tournaments. Markkanen would look okay, especially if Mobley's out. And then if you want to look for cheap guys, Denzel Valentine at 3,500. Not the worst fantasy player, not the best. Probably better than Justin Anderson, who is awful. But I think as far as like overall priorities go, especially if Mobley is in, Rubio looks like the guy.
I'm with you on that too. Now, on the other side, New Orleans, Brandon Ingram, doubtful to play in this one. So just assume that he is out. Only played 9 minutes last game with that Achilles. He had missed some time earlier in the year as well. But you've got essentially, you're not expecting to have him. And then Josh Hart's questionable. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is out. With Brandon Ingram out, does anyone jump at you, or is this kind of just because it's pretty flat ownership on these guys? Devontae Graham's getting a little bit, justifiably so. He's 6K flat. I get that against the Cleveland team that's got a bunch of guys in the protocol. But does anyone stand out as a top option on an 8-game slate? And if not, who are your secondary plays?
I think Joval's the top guy, especially on FanDuel, where I believe he's 7,700. 9,700 on DraftKings, he's certainly still playable, but when you factor in the relatively expensive price and the opportunity cost of the position, it becomes a little bit more difficult to get there, and that's why you're only seeing about 10% ownership on DraftKings. But in the games he's played without Ingram this year, he's averaged about 1.37 DraftKings points per minute. You're likely to get 33, 34 minutes from him. Like I said, Mobley being back is a negative there, but he still looks good. Josh Hart's questionable. If he's in, he's fine. He has gotten more expensive. And then Devontae Graham, you should see a little bit more usage with Ingram out. As far as value goes, Herbert Jones probably plays a lot. He's like a 0.67 DraftKings points per minute guy. He's fine. You could probably do better on the slate, though, outside of just trying to find low-owned guys in tournaments. Garrett Temple at 3,600, kind of the same thing. He's probably going to play 30 minutes or so. He's also Garrett Temple, so he's pretty unlikely to do a whole lot to help you win a tournament.
I promised you guys I'd hit Awesemo Hall of Fame today because we missed it yesterday with all of that insanity going on. And I keep my word. I would never break a promise here. Awesemo Hall of Fame. Let's do the induction ceremony. Get some people into this. Wondering what that is? I'll tell you. All you got to do if you want to get involved, win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, $90 value. And of course, get the induction, get shouted out right here on our shows. And of course, get that love over there on Twitter, is download the Awesemo avatar, whether it's DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, doesn't matter. Awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Awesemo HOF. Include us in that as well, because we like seeing that stuff. And win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum and get yourself up on this beautiful Hall of Fame, just like our boy Neil Orfield, who's been up here just a lot lately. Showdown to the rescue. Again, this guy's the Showdown King. Neil, as you know, does a lot of shows for us, a lot of work for us, and we're glad to have him. Single game tool was spot on tonight over at awesemo.com. Nice little plug there, Neil. Love it. 100K, and then what, 25K as well. Monster scores, monster wins from Neil. Congrats, dude. This guy just keeps crushing. Mike Rogers, hand build a 20 max, listening to Live Before Lock. Thanks, guys. Damn, first, third, and fourth. Huge in the 4-point play, 20 entry max. Donnie with a couple wins here. Meat and bone meal. It's odd, but I like it. Thank you for the content on Christmas Day. 250 bonus and ticket to the whatever that is. And then another one, first place in the dribbler. Again, it doesn't matter if it's the nickel, the quarter arcade. It doesn't matter what it is. Millie Maker, as long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, we got you with the free Awesemo Plus. We also got you right here in the Hall of Fame. Mike Doherty, second straight big Christmas win. Looking forward to seeing if you can help me out with my NBA lineups. Good stuff, man. Third place, 1250. And then Daniel Flores had a few firsts on NBA Turbo Slates, but this was my top 3 in a larger field. Thanks, y'all are awesome. Flow Rider with the third place, $400 win. And then Michael Davis to wrap this up, $500 first place in the NBA fadeaway. Thanks for all the great info and news from the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. Yes, even thanks to Josh. Wow. If you're not watching these shows, then you're not making money. It's the place to go watch your monies grow and to talk about The Wire. That's me rocking the Awesemo avatar. Congrats to everybody. Get that avatar. Hit us up at Awesemo Hall of Fame, Awesemo HOF. Get that free month, and we'll see you up here as well. All right, Adam, let's keep this one moving. Anything else for New Orleans, or should we get to these final two games?
I think that's about it for New Orleans. Yeah, I mentioned all the relevant guys. We did just get Toronto news confirmed. Trent in, Siakam in, Malachi Flynn in, Kem Birch, and Precious Achua out.
Okay. Does it change anything, or is that what you expected?
Well, it's what we expected. The Flynn piece just makes it even messier for the we had said with Trent and Siakam back, kind of just makes it so like there's enough bodies that the rotation can be a mess. Flynn just adds to that.
All right. Let's talk Denver and Golden State. So the Denver Nuggets, you got Nikola Jokic. This is what I wanted to ask you earlier. I think we can dig into this a little bit more now that we're actually on this side. And then Aaron Gordon's questionable. Same with Monte Morris. He was downgraded from probable to questionable. So if that matters to you, keep an eye on that. Denver Nuggets, 7.5-point dogs against an elite Golden State Warriors defense, 218 total. I know it's Jokic. I totally get that. And he's still getting around. He's still pulling around 19% ownership. But how much does it worry you that he's facing the Warriors? Sans Draymond Green, of course, but still facing this Warriors defense.
I don't care about that part because, well, for one, like you said, Green is out, so that helps. But it's also a pace-up spot. The concern that I have is just the positional eligibility because it's like there's always a high opportunity cost at center. But the reason I think this slate's a little bit different is that it's not just that there's like a couple of good cheap values and, as long as they don't go nuclear, Jokic is going to be great. You have Yurtseven, you have Gafford, you have Robin Lopez, you have Valanciunas, who isn't cheap, but he's still a center. But there's just like so many good cheap centers that it's pretty unlikely that they all fail. Oh, Nathan Knight, forgot about him, or Naz Reid, or Greg Monroe, whoever. There's just such an abundance of them that it's not like you're just trying to dodge one or two, and then if they score 20, if that one or two scores 25 raw points, you're in a great spot with Jokic. You're kind of just trying to dodge like 5 different guys that all have 40 plus fantasy point potential, not getting there and ruining Jokic. So I absolutely love Jokic. I'm not overly concerned about the matchup or anything. I think he's as close to matchup proof as it gets. And I would still really like to be getting him in lineups. But I do think from a positional eligibility standpoint, this is one of the more difficult slates to do it.
Of all of the high priced guys, who are you liking the most? Is it LeBron? It sounded like LeBron at his price point kind of just is the easiest to work into most lineups.
Yeah, I mean, like Jokic is the highest projected, but I think when you factor in salary, not salary, when you factor in position, I think it's LeBron just because there's not nearly as many good, power forward or forward options as there are centers.
I like LeBron a lot tonight too. Big minutes, playing particularly well of late. I know there's a lot of talk all the time. Yeah, LeBron is getting there. He's reaching that plateau, or he's already reached it, and now he's on the decline. But I don't. He's just been great lately. And like you said, if you're saving $1,000 on someone like him against Houston in a pace-up spot, it's hard not to like that. But there's a lot of good, high-priced players today, and all of them have that 70-plus fantasy point upside any given day.
And to be clear, I'm not saying like I don't like Jokic. I'm just saying I think it's really tough to get there. Right now,
I get it. I get it.
Like right now we have him at about 18% ownership. We have him with a 14% chance of being optimal. I personally think he's probably. I personally have him being optimal a little bit more than that. But the point stands where the ownership is probably about where it should be. So on the one hand, it's nice, getting a 20, sub 20% owned Nikola Jokic when he projects as the highest owned guy on the slate. But you just run a pretty high risk of like, for anybody that played Mason Plumlee yesterday, of kind of the same thing happening where you're just like, oh, cool, I got this massive game. And then you watch the, less expensive, popular guys just basically catch up.
So is there anything else for Denver? Like anything at all that you're even remotely interested in? Maybe Will Barton, but aside from that, it looks awful.
Yeah, I mean, Barton's the second guy. I think, you do have to pay attention to the news. We got Austin Rivers starting in place of Aaron Gordon last night. Couldn't really care less about him. But if you were to get Monte Morris ruled out, then potentially you're getting, Bones Highland minutes, which would be pretty nice. Devon Reed's played really well from an NBA standpoint, but not super appealing from a fantasy standpoint. But if you do get like Bones Highland in the starting lineup for somebody, that starts to be interesting.
What about the Warriors side without Dre, without Jordan Poole? Without Damian Lee? They got a bunch of guys out again tonight. So what does that do for this Warriors team against the Nuggets? They're 7.5-point home favorites against Denver.
Yeah, pretty unappealing spot just in that Denver is a pretty slow team, but this game being in Golden State makes it a little bit more appealing. Curry, always, if you can get there, he looks good. Scoring more favorable on DraftKings, but he's 11-5. On FanDuel, he's 10,400, so he's easier to get into lineups. Just always looks like a good play. Wiggins is back. That doesn't have a huge impact on Curry. It does take, some usage, but you're still talking about 30+% for Curry easily. Gary Payton, Otto Porter Jr. become, I think, a little bit riskier with Wiggins back, but you should still get probably around 30 minutes from Payton, probably upper 20s from Porter. One spot that I am really interested in, and it sucks because he's a center, but Kevon Looney's only getting 10% ownership, 3,700 on DraftKings. Last game, he played 28 minutes, and Nemanja Bjelica played about 20 behind him. You basically got no center minutes in that game from Draymond Green. Obviously, Green's not playing tonight. I think it's pretty likely that you get 28 minutes or so again from Kevon Looney. He's typically not going to put up that massive score that you can get from some of the $4,700, $4,800 guys like Yurtseven and Gafford, but he could still pretty easily give you like a 25 to 30 point score that, depending how the slate breaks, that those savings can be useful.
John Good with a super chat. Does Knight drop below the other value centers if Naz Reid ends up playing? Yeah.
If he ends up playing, yeah. So assuming Naz Reid starts, yes.
Right. Well, that's the weird thing. Because it is a conditioning thing, right, with Naz Reid?
Right. So if they say Naz Reid is active, Nathan Knight is starting, then I think there's a good chance that you're just seeing Naz Reid kind of screw with Greg Monroe's minutes. If they say Naz Reid is starting, then I think Knight is still playable as long as his ownership is low, and you're basically just hoping that you end up getting a 24-24 split, but it wouldn't make me confident at all.
For sure. Yeah, that's the right way to look at it. Got 3,000 people watching, 629 likes. I mean, we're just doing things big today. Talking a little wire. Maybe next time we'll come back. We'll talk. I don't know. You don't really watch a ton of TV. Game of Thrones, Yellowstone, Breaking Bad.
I've seen Breaking Bad.
Yeah, you've seen Breaking Bad. OKC in Sacramento. Let's wrap this one up. Hand it over to Eric and Terry for Live Before Lock. They'll take you all the way up till 7. And then they got the 30-minute Jock Market show. Hang out with them after Lock. OKC 5.5 point dogs, 224 total. Giddey's out, Beasley's out, Robinson Earl's out, Pogoshevsky's out, Trey Mann is out, and then we got Derek Favors as a late ad in the afternoon. He's out as well. I mean, this team's ravaged right now.
Yeah, and so it actually opens up some potential value here because you have with Favors and Robinson Earl out, it opens up likely minutes for Muscala, for Isaiah Roby. These guys are two more value centers, two more guys that make it difficult to pay up at that position. Muscala, I know I mentioned him on a show a month or so ago and chat lost their minds, but he's been a good fantasy producer this year. He's at 1.09 DraftKings points per minute. He's got a good matchup against the Kings. Isaiah Roby is a 0.95 DraftKings points per minute guy. If you assume that they're going to split center minutes, more or less, they both look like pretty good values. I wouldn't play them together, but either one certainly could, basically give you 25 plus points at their salaries. Kenrich Williams at 3,700 is likely to get enough run to be useful here. Aaron Wiggins has been a horrible fantasy producer this year, but he is only 3,400 and likely to play 30 or more minutes. Teo Maledon, Ty Jerome should see some more playing time at dirt cheap. So this is a team where I still don't think on a lot of these guys, particularly the wings and the backup guards, I don't think you can be super confident in their minutes. But if somebody's playing well, and it's likely that somebody will against the Kings, you could see enough run from Teo Maledon or Ty Jerome or Aaron Wiggins to be good plays. I'd set groups to not really have those guys together, and I wouldn't want Muscala, Roby together. As far as the main pieces go, Lou Dort, somehow a power forward on DraftKings. He looks fine. But the one guy that I really wanted to highlight was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he's still been a high usage guy this year, but the assists have dropped off with Josh Giddey there. Giddey essentially being the point guard. If you take Giddey off the floor, SGA's played 393 minutes, 31.7% assist percentage, 36% usage rate, and 1.35 DraftKings points per minute in a favorable spot against Sacramento. He's expensive, but I think he looks fantastic here.
Gay's super expensive, but this is as good a matchup as you're going to get.
Yeah, it's nice when the two G League teams play each other.
Exactly. And he's not pulling a ton of ownership either. Nope. So makes for a great tournament play.
And he's at a position where there are value point guards, but you can roster 3 point guards on DraftKings, 2 on FanDuel, and they're still not quite the same quality as the centers.
Benjamin says, just call me Ben. Last name's tough. Shushan? I don't know. Is D-Rob no longer a decent play? Also, can I fade Giannis, Jokic, and LeBron? Oh, and Josh, you look better than usual today. All right. Well, we're not Josh.
I'm going to just assume that
he was talking to me. I know. And I'm not surprised that he would make such a statement.
Yeah, I think it's very clear objectively that we are both better looking than Josh.
I was just going to say, he probably was like, why? Yeah. I don't know which one's Josh, but they both look a whole lot better than usual.
Right. As far as the question, Duncan Robinson, I mean, he's fine, but just like on this slate, it's nothing more than like, oh, I got Duncan Robinson in this lineup, whatever. I'm not happy about it, but it's fine. I'd rather play Butler. I'd rather play Hero. I'd rather play like 800 guys from different other teams. And you can fade Giannis, Jokic, LeBron. There's other, routes you can go, like, getting to Westbrook, getting to SGA, playing a couple of those like mid 9K guys. But you do need raw points somewhere. There's so much value on this slate tonight that you are going to need the top scoring guys.
All right. How about Sacramento? We're a minute over. We're all right here. A little too much wire talk, but we did pretty solid, I'd say.
Yeah, there's not a lot that I like from Sacramento because they were shorthanded for so long that prices have come up. But there are two pieces I find really interesting. One is De'Aaron Fox, only $8,000, not getting much ownership at all on DraftKings. This is a good matchup against OKC. He played about 30 minutes last game, and that was a blowout where maybe he would have played a little bit more. But they had said coming into that game that he was not on any minutes limit. So I think it's likely that you get a few more minutes than that here. He hasn't been a great fantasy producer this year, but 8K is pretty cheap in this matchup. And then Rashawn Holmes, massive foul trouble last game, only played 13 minutes in the blowout, could not stop fouling. He's 5,600. And I think that, he's a little bit more expensive than the Gafford Yurtseven range, but Rashawn Holmes can very easily go for like 40 plus DraftKings points here if he is able to stay out of foul trouble. So I don't like a lot from the Kings. I like a lot more from OKC, but De'Aaron Fox and Rashawn Holmes in tournaments, I think both look really good.
Okay, yeah, very little ownership too on this game, really, when you think about all of them combined. That'll do it for us. You guys are the best. This has been a very fun show. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, myself at Laffy _D, LOUGHY_D. Shout out to our boy Jordan Klein for producing today's show. And we'll catch you back here for the next one. It's the Awesemo Deeper Dive presented by Jock Market. Eric Terry coming up next, live before live. Peace.
Somebody's
miss the Christmas beats. Let's be serious. I kind of miss the Christmas beats. I really do. I missed all of you too. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Jock Market. I'm Eric Lindquist. Excited to be here on a Tuesday afternoon talking a little hoops here on the West Coast. Everybody over there, if we're going to be a little late getting in here, it might as well be because of the wire. And I will say, my co-partner over there, we've got Terry McBride here. You know him as Digital B21 on Twitter. Check him out over there. Go give him a follow. Always just a fantastic human being in these Awesemo parts. But I got to say, maybe my favorite moment in the history of our relationship was when you dropped into chat that your favorite scene was the F-word scene from The Wire season 1, because I feel like I've shown that to so many people throughout my life where I'm just like, you don't need to say much to say much. You just don't need it. You just don't need it in cinema or in TV or in anything good. And when they find the bullet in the yard and everything else, it's just one of the more brilliant 5-minute scenes in the history of TV. Do yourself a favor, YouTube it. But Terry, how you doing, my dude?
I'm totally with you on that, dude. I'm doing good. But yeah, we're in total lockstep on that. The quality of that scene is just, it's just amazing what you can convey with them only saying one word back and forth to each other, and the hilarity of it being, a pretty strong profanity there, the old F word there. That was pretty fun. So yeah, I show it to a bunch of people when I'm talking about the show too. But we're gonna spend the next hour talking about why The Sopranos is overrated, right?
Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so Terry doesn't get canceled, and we can all feel loved here because The Sopranos is awesome. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's talk some NBA
awesome,
here.
But it's overrated.
Let's talk some NBA, something the last show didn't do at all. So let's cover some NBA for the people here. We got 53 minutes left, but definitely hit that like button. And we have another half hour, of course, talking some Jock Market. We'll also react to some ownership. We'll watch some of the games live. We'll be able to chat a little bit, just one game in the early window with Milwaukee and Orlando. But, I'm going to be above the field on Giannis. That's something I enjoy doing. But Terry, what are you kind of looking at as for this slate as a whole? Kind of give us an overview. What pieces of news are you still waiting on that are going to dictate what you do with your lineups?
I think there's a lot of news still coming out of Minnesota that we got to worry about. Alex just dropped into our breaking news channel. It looks like Naz Reid might have been a false positive, so I'm assuming the resting players doesn't apply to him until we hear otherwise. Looks like the news guy is just dropping something in there now. No Bradley Beal for the Wizards, so that's a big piece of news for somebody who was in and out throughout the day. But for me, primarily, it's around that Naz Reid news because that has a major impact on one of the extreme value plays on the board in Nathan Knight. I think that I haven't seen the actual confirmation that Patrick Beverley is in fact playing tonight. Last I saw, he's still game time decision, and I saw a beat writer saying that he thinks he's playing, but I haven't seen the confirmation on that. So if we get Patrick Beverley, I think that also has an impact on the Noel and the McLaughlin play. So just a couple moving parts for Minnesota there is something I'm keeping my eye on. We've got a lot of other pieces of news that have trickled in through the day between the Toronto rotation with several of those guys coming back. I kind of think that has a muting effect on a lot of the spots. We got the wacky Orlando starting lineup where they very helpfully used everybody's Twitter handle instead of their actual names. So that was a lot of fun to look up. But we've gotten some of the pieces of news that I was really keeping an eye out for. So we've got some interesting values and interesting star or spend up spots to talk about on this slate. Giannis is a player for me. I'm definitely going to try and get over the field on him as well.
Yeah, we've got 2 super chats we're going to touch on here right off the bat. Because we're at the tail end of the last show here. The losers win again, $5 super chat. So I want to make sure I answer these for them. Thoughts on Jalen Noel? The boom bust tool likes him in the optimal a lot. I will say I'm getting him into an uncomfortable number of lineups. I mean, I'm kind of surprised coming off of a 45-point outing. He's sub 4K. Surprised nobody's going there. But I mean, part of it is that I don't expect 35 minutes again, but you don't need 35 minutes out of Jalen Noel for him to be effective. I guess giving up a point guard spot, there are just so many guys that I want to be getting to more. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Ricky Rubio, guys we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Jalen Noel, how do you view him on this slate from the T-Wolves?
I mean, based on how Alex has him on the board, it looks like we cut his minutes down to 18 and a half, and he's still carrying a pretty strong optimal lineup rate. I'm not sure. I want to make sure that I've got the most recent update on this so that we can talk it through. So let's see. It looks like something did just drop here in the meantime. The optimal rates are still holding strong despite cutting the minutes down to like 18 and a half. So I think even with the limitation, there is upside there at those prices. 4,000 on FanDuel, 3,800 on DK. Point guard only on both sites. As long as that holds, I'm comfortable going to it. He's produced 1.03 fantasy points per minute across all situations this season. Over the last 3, he's produced 0.91 in 26 minutes a night. Like you mentioned, on FanDuel scoring, it was a 42.7 minute point night in 35 minutes the last time out. if he gets, 20 and change somewhere around there, which I think is reasonable to expect, especially with that question around Patrick Beverley, I think there's definitely a reasonable expectation for him to crack through the upside, and all the ownership went away. So there's just a massive leverage number on him now.
I think it makes a lot of sense to take some shots there if he's going to be 2%. I don't think he's going to be 2%. That's the major problem that I have, is that I think if he's going to be 8-10%, look at what the Celtics closed with last night. It was Payton Pritchard, Romeo Langford. They definitely had two smaller guys in that lineup, and the Knicks will not. They will have Kemba. So you can't close with Jordan McLaughlin and Jalen Noel the way that you were able to last night. So if you want to just look at that, that's one of the small underrated parts of just kind of seeing what that matchup would be. A lot more size coming in here from the Knicks side. So I will say the likelihood of somebody like a Jaden McDaniels, just flat out. I mean, Jaden McDaniels did close yesterday, but either a Jake Layman, Josh Okogie, somebody in that kind of scenario, that's going to be something that kind of matters to me. Also, Delano Banton, somebody that mattered a lot more for Sunday slate. Toronto, now that they're getting everybody back here, he just got ruled out. I don't think that really matters too much here in the grand scheme of it. But let's answer this other super chat here. Benjamin Shushin, call me Ben. Last name stuff. Is D-Rob no longer a decent play? Also, can I fade ABC, Jokic, and LBJ? I wouldn't do that one here. I'll ask Terry in a second. You answered it already? Okay. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Well, I just wanted to double check because I saw that comment down there at the bottom that, we didn't answer a super chat or something. So D-Rob, not really on the board for me. How about for your Terry?
Who? Sorry?
Duncan Robinson.
No, not really a player I get to a ton. Scoring dependent, shooting dependent. Let's see where he comes up on the board. I didn't have my eye on him earlier. We talked about him on the on one of the prop-based shows earlier today. But yeah, he's coming in Alex's numbers. 3.3% optimal on DK, 2.5% optimal on FanDuel. There's not a major boom score percentage probability. He's just kind of looks like who he is, right? Is 21 and change points. He's a 0.70 fantasy point per minute player on 17.5% usage for the season, 0.66 over the last three with a depleted lineup. Gave us 14.1 on 28 minutes the last time out. That's just kind of who Duncan Robinson is. 8.4% assist rate, 6% rebounding share. Doesn't do a lot more than score the ball. If the shot's not falling, I don't love it. So I try and, in those mid-range plays, get to guys who can contribute in multiple categories, or at least have some potential to contribute in additional ways if their shot's not falling. And I don't really put Duncan in that category.
Somebody just said, can we talk about Greg Monroe? I will talk about Greg Monroe all the time. I love that man after last night. Naz Reid's going to be back, and I'm going to have a ton of Naz Reid. He's probably the most important player for me on this slate, but we will get to that at the center position because we go position by position on this lovely show. Once again, as we're going, hit that like button. Get us up over 1,000 here today. That would be lovely. Post-Christmas, in between, the Christmas and New Year's deal, that's the gift. If you guys want some good karma going for 2022, just hit the like button and you'll have it. I promise. That's it.
That's the best holiday savings in town. Whole year of instant karma. Love it.
Yeah, instant karma. I'm here for it. Ricky Rubio, RJ Hampton, Malik Beasley on the top end here. Again, even if we get Taurean Prince and Naz Reid back, somebody's got to score the basketball here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Malik Beasley, coming off of last night where he was very, very muted for a guy that generally with, all of these cast of characters out, Cat, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, you would think Malik Beasley, the prime candidate, but Jalen Noel just went completely insane. Shout out EMAC 2024, Washington Huskies. But Malik Beasley, RJ Hampton, Ricky Rubio, which ones are you getting over the field on?
So right now, Beasley and Hampton are very different plays on the FanDuel slate than they are on the DraftKings slate. Beasley at 5,400 shooting guard eligible on DK comes up 22% optimal. He's owned efficiently, but I think it's reasonable to plug him in, not as a big standout upside play, but maybe as a kind of a nice mid-range piece that you can, there is an expectation of upside, right? I shouldn't say it exactly that way because he's got a 40.9% boom score probability, which is not nothing. And he's projected for 32.2 in the median. He's just not my favorite play at efficient ownership. If he was under-owned, I'd be a lot more excited about that spot. FanDuel for 6,400, despite crossover position eligibility between small forward and shooting guard, and the fact that we get him slightly positively leveraged, I'm just not that wild about spending that money for him when he's only 9.5% in the optimal, only 13.2% on the boom score. That increased salary has a big impact on him. RJ Hampton, same story. He's 5,300 on FanDuel. He's 3,200 on DK. I don't really get the difference there and how they come up with those wildly different salaries, but obvious play on the DK slate as a value guard, 3,200 both guard spots eligible, more than 25% optimal, massive 58% boom score probability. Got him projected at 25 for a 28-minute run tonight. Plenty for him to do out there. I don't sweat that one at all if you want to just plug and play. And I don't really worry about the fact that he's negatively leveraged. That price is just too good. You can just get so much in the other spots in your lineup. Differentiate elsewhere, take the easy value building block on DK. I'm really not interested in him on FanDuel very much. If I had a few shares, I'd be fine, but 7% optimal, more owned than that, negative 1.3 leverage for 5,300. I think we can do better.
I think we can too. I'm with you on that play. Ricky Rubio, I'm not. Ricky Rubio, I'm all in. I see. I go, Ricky Rubio is just such a smash here on this slate. Somebody wanted to talk about we can talk about the most popular play on the slate. I'm happy to do that. 6,400 for a guy that with Colin Sexton, Darius Garland off the floor this season, 1.17 DraftKings point per minute player, playing in excess of minutes in those situations too. I mean, that's a healthy sample size, 304 minutes with both of those guys off the floor. Normally he's with one of them. He's not with either of them here. That's going to bode very, very well. Plus, surprising to me, he leads the entire Cleveland team with Sexton and Garland off the floor with a 27.1% usage in that 304 minutes. So he's going to shoot the ball above expectation. I know that some of that is inflated because I'm assuming part of it has to do with that Knicks closing lineup. You remember the game where he just destroyed Madison Square Garden for 20 minutes of just madness? You do know what I'm talking about,
games
Terry.
like that.
Yep, you should remember games like that, Terry.
There's a lot of them. It happens that I just don't remember the last 14 years of Knicks history at all. So nope, erased from my brain. There's 2 good years.
There you go. Yeah, 2 good years. Last year was good.
I love the Rubio play here. I'm right with you on Rubio, top of the board in terms of our optimal lineup rate. 37% on FanDuel, 42 on DK. Nothing not to like about that, especially at price. Comfy mid-range price. You can fit him in. You can fit Rubio and still get to a 3-star configuration on FanDuel. I assume the same is true with even more value over on DK. So really like that play a lot. I'm actually going to restart. I was running a bunch of crunches, so I'd have some data points ready from Cruncher, and just with the changing news, it's pointless to do it so far before the show. So I'm going to fire those off again and see what starts coming up in some of these crunches. But yeah, I was getting to a ton of Rubio earlier, and I don't expect that to change.
All right, let's continue on with the guard position then. Again, I'll be covering a little bit more DK and playing a little bit more over there today. And I know you're generally the blue site guy, so this works out really, really well for both of us here. Gary Payton, somebody that kind of matters a little bit over on the Gary Payton II, let me clarify. His dad, with all these 10-day contracts, you don't want to assume anything. It could very well be real Gary Payton out there based on some of these guys that we've seen get some exposure here. But like on the cheap end there, other guys gaining about a lot of traction here for me. Devontae Graham, I'm just assuming right now we've got Josh Hart in on the projections. I have a feeling that he's going to be out here. It just kind of feels like it. To me, Naz Reid also is going to be in. Just such a smash here for me. And Patrick Beverley in. So that just completely depletes anything you might want to do with Jalen Noel, Jordan McLaughlin, anybody from that situation for Minnesota. Wanted to touch on that. We'll get back around to it. But looking at the rest of the guard position, what are some other plays that you really, really like in this 10 to 20% owned range?
Yeah, so I like the Payton play as well. I wrote him up in my article on the site this afternoon. He's coming in more negatively leveraged now on the FanDuel slate, but he's a strong play. He's projected for a 31-point night in the median, still a 34.1% boom score probability, coming up optimal in the 20s. I don't love that 30% of the field's going to be on him now. What I really like about him is he kind of fits into that paradigm I was talking about before, where he can score the ball. He's got a 71.3% true shooting percentage, averaging 1.06 fantasy points per minute on the season, but he also contributes in counting stats, ancillary stuff to a degree. He's 10.2% rebounding share, pretty decent for a shooting guard. And the steals I really like. I put it in the column. It's over 3 and change steals per 36. Really like the ability for somebody to go out there and rack up points in a different way. So I'm happy to book him into shooting some shares here. I don't love the negative leverage, but I'll deal with it at 5,500. I think he's still got value there for us from the mid-range. So he was somebody I was really paying attention to. And I think there are available stars like crazy at the guard spot between Steph Curry and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, both of whom are pay-up options on both sites, but they both fall into reasonable optimal lineup rates. They're both owned pretty efficiently. It's the low and mid-20s on the FanDuel slate, and it's mid-teens on the DK slate. So I really like getting to players like that when there's an advantage to them. And they talked about it on the previous show. SGA, the assist potential going up with Giddey off the court. Steph Curry is Steph Curry, so I'm always happy to get to him, particularly the price on the FanDuel slate, 10-4 as compared to the 11-5 on DK. I think we're getting a bit of a discount on Steph over on the FanDuel slate. So I like both guards from the Warriors here. Then just kind of others are mix and match type.
Hang on
pieces.
one second, Terry. I'm going to jump in just because chat's going to get way ahead and we got to cover it. I literally just said I thought Josh Hart was going to get ruled out. He's ruled out. So that's lovely to see, along with Brandon Ingram. So I just want to recircle back on that because it's a big piece of news in regards to the guard position for me. Devontae Graham, going to be one of my favorite plays, plus the little bonus addition to Jonas Valanciunas, who is going to be one of my highest owned centers on the blue side at 7,700. It went through shoot around and is going to be a game time decision. Thank you so much, of course, to News God, keeping everybody apprised of everything all the time. But at the guard position, Devontae Graham vaults up my board, as well as I feel like I've recommended this dude on way too many damn shows, but it is Garrett Temple night for Eric Lindquist. Yeah, let's go. Terry McBride, talk to me about this news.
Yeah, I was with you on the Garrett Temple play already, so I'm going to be even more firmly with you now that we've got that news confirmed. 3,600 across both sites. He's point guard, shooting guard on DK, which I think has a lot more utility than the small forward eligibility on the FanDuel slate. That's kind of annoying, but I've still got him in a value spot in the FanDuel lineup, so I think he's
3,600 on FanDuel. That helps.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely helps. I mean, he is a value piece for sure. And I expect our probability marks will jump a little bit. He was already negatively leveraged, but maybe he gets into the optimal a little bit more if we give him a little kick. We had him at 29.4 minutes. I'm not sure exactly if how many more he picks up. I like the Devontae Graham one as well. He's up near the top of the board already in terms of the optimal rates on both sites. So among guard plays, 6,300 on FanDuel, 6,000 on DK. Gets multi-position on the FanDuel, say point guard and shooting guard, where he's only point guard on DK. So maybe we pick him up a little bit more on the blue site and like him a little better over there. But I think both of those guys are going to be super relevant, a little bit more relevant than what they were looking like 2 or 3 minutes ago. So like both plays.
Yeah, it's a fun situation. I think this Pelicans situation is going to be one that I get to a lot. Talked about it a lot on the Slate Starter podcast with Ryan yesterday. I assumed Josh Hart was going to be out pretty much from the get-go. There seemed like no situation that they should be playing him here. And Brandon Ingram, Achilles, yeah, you're not going to probably play your franchise guy here in this spot. No offense to Zion, but he has to play basketball in order to be the franchise guy. I heard that that's important. But looking at Herbert Jones as well, I think that was somebody I was already getting to. I always like investing in some of these rookies, in unknown situations where they might have to, he's not a high usage guy by any means, but Herbert Jones can be effective. And, he's never had a game, I believe, in his NBA career with over a 22% usage. So, take that for what you will, but I don't really care. I think that there's going to be 37, 38 minutes there for him. We already had him projected for 34. No doubt about it. Herbert Jones is going to be another guy that I get to quite a bit. Even, and I hate to say this because this is a slate with so much value, and I don't want to say it because it sounds ridiculous, but like somebody else has to be playing minutes unless they're just going to play dudes out there for 40 minutes. But with Nickeil Alexander-Walker out, Garrett Temple, obviously, I think is going to absorb a ton of them. But Thomas Satoransky, he's got to play 24, 25 minutes here in this spot if you were to have any foul trouble for Graham whatsoever. I mean, Thomas Satoransky, he's not like a nobody. He's just a terrible fantasy point per minute guy at 0.6. And I think we can do better, but I might have a Scherer or two if I give him 25 minutes. So, just for the heck of talking about it, he's got point guard, small forward eligibility, which makes it a little unique on DK as well. But anything else you want to add to the Pelicans?
Yeah, Sato would be the guy I called out there. 3,500 point guard, small forward on DK is at least somewhat interesting with an expectation of additional minutes. A little less interesting for 42 at the point guard only spot on FanDuel. To your point, 0.59 fantasy points per minute is nothing to write home about this season. 12.6% usage, but he was a 0.83 per minute guy on 15% usage last year, so we shouldn't totally ignore that. And he's got an atrocious true shooting percentage, 37.7% true shooting percentage on the season. That's laughably bad. So there is some reasonable expectation that we could see a return to a better per minute guy. Over the last 3, only seeing 14.3 minutes per night, but has delivered a 0.86 mark. That's more directly in line with the player that we thought he was. So I think there's some expectation. Yeah, if he gets 24-ish minutes, it's easy enough for him to pay off that 3,500. So we'll see where that minutes number goes. But I would expect his probability marks to climb and probably will be a little sneaky. Just a player people don't seem to be excited to get to. So that would have been what I would call out there.
All right. So, I didn't chat. I'm aware of Naz Reid being in. He's a massive part of my lineups. I said at the beginning of the show, we're going to have a ton of him. I'm going to have a ton of him at least. I know that that's going to be kind of the way that that works. But we got to go position by position for the most part to keep it in line, unless you do get some of this news that we kind of have to decipher. And I think one other piece we should talk about before getting back to the rest of the guards is the Toronto Raptors. And it comes down to figuring out how many minutes you think Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent Jr., and Pascal Siakam are going to play in this spot. But I think that they play enough to make it very difficult to get to anything on the Toronto board for me. I legitimately have no interest in rostering a single Raptors player on this entire slate. How about you, Terry?
Yeah, I would be totally fine coming up empty on the Raptors as well. I mean, we do have positive leverage marks on some of these guys, but we're talking about minimal positive leverage on guys who are 10% optimal or less. Pascal Siakam is the most optimal guy at 12% on the FanDuel slate. He's 7,800 in the power forward spot. We've got him projected for only 28.5 minutes tonight. I just don't love anything here. Toronto's a team that I run into that a lot with. They're typically fairly priced, and even in these wacky days where half the lineup is missing in action, they're still kind of appropriately priced for what we expect for them. So nobody stands out by boom score. Nobody really stands out by optimal rate for me. I would take what I get in very small doses here and not be really excited about it. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think any of these guys are extreme values.
All right, here we go. So we've got two more super chats here. Thank you so much. Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass doing a great job per usual. Jordan, I like you today. I don't love you. I just like you. That's the way that it is. Hat tip. There you go. For Jeter. How you feel about Justin Anderson? This is from Cheyenne DeWalt. Justin Anderson, so obviously from Cleveland, Virginia Cavalier, if you will. And does Naz Reid make Knight or McDaniels bad plays? Okay, so we got to stop bad play. I don't know if it's I just think that they might actually garner a little bit of attention, which makes it pretty easy to say I don't want any of it and I want all of the Naz Reid. But if Naz Reid is in any kind of way, shape, or form limited, I think that you could take some shots on Nathan Knight based on what we saw last night. But I am definitely inclined to have zero, and I mean zero, interest in Greg Monroe or anything else there. What do you think about Justin Anderson and then this Minnesota Timberwolves big man situation?
Yeah, the Timberwolves with getting the confirmation on Naz and Pat Beverly both being in kind of takes all the shine off those value plays from the Timberwolves, both for Nathan Knight, certainly for Greg Monroe. And Nathan Knight, it knocks him down in Alex's projection to a 15.8. I haven't updated the boom score numbers yet. I'm in the process of doing that. I'm waiting out an update on our end, but those will come out momentarily. So we should have new numbers to talk about on those guys. But yeah, I got to make some changes because I had significant shares of Knight. I had some shares of Noel. I had some shares of Jordan McLaughlin. And now all of that is kind of going to go away. I would play the hell out of Naz Reid. We've got him projected for 30.8 minutes. Haven't seen anything about him being limited. So I think it goes back to the kind of the obviously not stars, but the guys who are more prone to be regular rotation pieces for this team as they're coming back in. Still no Anthony Edwards. It's a leaky rotation, but at least you get guys who are more capable NBA players now. And it's not overly exciting to go to Pat Beverly here for 5,800. He's priced basically appropriately for a full run, 28-minute projection. Not really inspiring for him. So I think Naz would be the main takeaway here.
So I ran a crunch before the show. I just want people to know how ridiculous NBA DFS is right now. Nathan Knight, I had 86% of. Now I have 0. So there you go. Fair. I love, and he didn't get ruled out. So, I mean, that's kind of fun how that works out. So at least pointing that out. Then for Cleveland, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I'm more inclined if you're going to play somebody and try to make somebody a thing out of that situation. It's Denzel Valentine for me. I think I'm a little bit more inclined to take shots there. Justin Anderson is just kind of not going to play the 31 minutes you would kind of see that he had last time out. And even if he does, he's just such a bad fantasy point per minute producer. I mean, Denzel Valentine about the identical number, but I'm just more secure with his minutes. What do you think about that situation?
Yeah, I would probably agree with you there, lean into the Valentine's play. I'm trying to get this thing updated so that I can get Alex's thoughts in here as well. But I think that just makes a little bit more sense if we're picking between two, relatively bad per minute producers. I go with the one with a little bit more security in the minutes and the expectation there. So let me jump back over to the Cleveland side now that I plugged in the DK side at least, and we'll see if anything's changed in Alex's board in terms of those players. Anderson still projected 17.4 minutes. At 3,300 on the DK slate, that has him coming up in the optimal lineup 0.1% of the time. I would not be all that interested in that one.
Okay. Well, perfect. Let's get back to guard here. Gravit Love. No, I have zero desire to roster Gravit here in this spot. RJ Hampton would be the guy that I would want to get to. Again, this dude back in the day, for people who don't know, was the number one high school recruit, went to New Zealand or Australia, one of the two. Played absolutely abysmal basketball, fell in the draft to Denver, and Denver would love to have him back. I believe that would be exactly what they want from RJ Hampton. If they could go back and do it again, however, Bones Highland might be good. I don't know. RJ Hampton, I think, is better, and somebody that is going to play minutes here. We've got him projected for around 29 here. He's 3,200. 33%. Obviously, he's a little bit more popular, but that's just at least something to be aware of here. For me, that's just not going to be a thing going to grab it. But rest of the guards here, Terry, anybody that you're a lot lower than on the field here that's gaining a little bit of traction since we just got our last update?
Let me jump back over to the guards board now. We'll see. We'll sort by the ownership column here and see who we're kind of not really interested in. We've got, Hampton does carry that massive negative leverage score at negative 9.1 on the last update. At 3,200, I mentioned it before. It's worth just bringing up again real quick. I don't really sweat that. He's just a building block at that piece, and he lets you get access to a 3-star configuration in your lineup. So I think that's worth doing. A guy that I wasn't, it's not even a situation where I think I'd be under because he's got nice leverage and marks and a pretty solid optimal rate, but we haven't really touched on him yet, so I'll bring him up. Spencer Dinwiddie for 6,800 on the DK slate with no Beal. That takes a nice jump, and it wasn't somebody that was really front of mind for me until we got that Beal news. And now seeing him with a 31% optimal rate in Alex's projections, a 48.4% boom score probability, a 40-point median projection in a 36-minute night, that's looking like a smash spot. The field might catch up with it. If the field gets another 5-10% ownership, it'll be at worst efficiently owned. Right now, he's at a 10.5 leverage score. So that one kind of makes a lot of sense to me. I think I would probably be, despite what we were just saying, we were just talking about the Toronto side of the ball. I would be under the field on the Malachi Flynn play, despite the 3,000. I just think 8.7 optimal on DK, negative 8.6 leverage score, 17.3% owned. That one doesn't really fly for me, despite being a guy who could be priced like one of those building block plays where you don't really sweat the negative leverage. Wasn't really top of mind for me either. 4,600 over on FanDuel, so just kind of irrelevant over there. Looking down the board, I would probably be below the field on a guy like Russ, who's coming up somewhat popular on FanDuel, 14% ownership, 15% on DK. Negatively leveraged Russ. I know there's plenty for him to do, but not overly exciting. I just prefer either getting some of these dynamite values at guard, or if I'm going to spend up, I want to get to like SGA. I want to get to Curry, guys we talked about before.
Agreed. We've got another super chat. Corey Kispert over on DK. He's getting quite a bit of traction here. 3,700. It's a minutes play for me. Obviously, in his young career, he was a guy that was a shooter at Gonzaga. Again, I don't know how we get up to like 40 minutes on him for our minutes projection. I'm a little bit lower on that. I know he played 32 and 35 his last two, and he started both of them, but I kind of have him in the same ballpark. You take off Montrezl Harrell. I think maybe Denny Avdia is a guy that's maybe not getting as much attention as what he should at 4,400. Some people are like, oh, well, he sucks. Well, he's a 0.84 fantasy point per minute guy, as opposed to Corey Kispert, who's 0.61. If Corey plays 7-8 more minutes than Denny, that's definitely going to factor into the projection. But I'm definitely going to kind of take sides of shots on him there. What do you think about Corey Kispert on this slate?
Yeah, he's projecting well on the board here, but I agree. I think we might be a little high with that minutes projection. 38.6 is awfully aggressive. He's been getting over the last five. He played 35, 32, missed a game, played 20. Denny Avdia, to your point, 29, 29, 30, 26, 22 over the last five. So they're both seeing minutes. And if Avdia is coming up significantly under where Kispert is at, I'd just rather be on the Avdia side of things, the less popular guy that people think doesn't produce very well, but like you said, a 0.8 and change versus a 0.6 fantasy point per minute guy. And it's not like Kispert's been lighting the world on fire. In the last three games, a 33.5 minute average, a 0.56 fantasy point per minute. That's not overly inspiring. So I think I agree. I would probably lean toward still an uncomfortable Denny Avdia play on that one, but with a big chunk of the field now on him, 30% ownership on FanDuel, 23% on Kispert on the DK slate. Yeah, I don't really want to get to that one. I prefer the Temple play if we're going to a cheap small forward option on FanDuel, 3,600, same price.
Yep, I'm playing a lot of Garrett Temple on both sites. We just got news also that Isaac Okoro is going to play. So everything about Denzel Valentine and definitely not Justin Anderson is out of play there. Evan Mobley remains a game time decision. So that's great. You know, it's also great. Awesemo tools and content, $29.95 right now for the weekly pass. And you saw on the screen right there, Jordan Klein had the NBA ownership projections up. Well, we also have those behind the paywall every single day of the week, as well as, you know, other things like, you know, the actual projections rather than the ownership projections. We have NFL content that is unbelievable that, you know, guys have just been smashing with here of late. No doubt about it. You know, got tagged by the Millie winner the other day. That's always fun to see. That's just, you know, as good as it gets. But, you know, even other stakes, everybody up and down the spectrum, just completely smashing in every single sport. Check out our player projections, ownership projections, premium Discord channel, lineup builder. So much more available to you, and use promo code NBA Live, all caps, one word, NBA Live, for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So stop guessing, start winning, and join us here at Awesemo today. Again, this show is presented by Jock Market. I'll talk a little bit about them. We're going to be around for half an hour chatting their product here. Very excited to talk to you about them. Once again, don't go anywhere when we're all done with this. We're going to have plenty of time to cover all of the ownership, all the other things that are going on in real time as that game starts between Milwaukee and Orlando. Definitely some pieces that are interesting, specifically Giannis for me. But let's jump on over to the forward spot and talk about said pieces. On the top end, we've got a lot of studs you can pay up for. And considering the center position, which, you know, now added another massive piece of news to it, we have a lot of pieces on the cheap end that are going to be really fitting into lineups easily. We have Giannis and LeBron, Julius Randle, even somebody that I'm going to get a little bit over the field on. For me, it's so easy to pay up at these forward spots and just make sure that I'm getting them in lineups there, that it's just kind of like almost like the pay up by default spot for me. What are you doing with Giannis, LeBron, Julius Randle, all these expensive forwards?
Yeah, I've been trying to get to combinations of those guys in lineups all day long. I had some lineups built on FanDuel that included 3 of those guys, and there's an ability to get to 4 if you're willing to embrace some major risk with some value plays. But a few of those value plays kind of went away with that Minnesota guard rotation changing. So trying to figure that out right now in real time. I think you could probably still get there for multiple combinations of stars and from guys on that list with the values on DK. There's just stronger value plays like Hampton, like Corey Kispert on DK, or Kispert does jump to the top of the list. I know I just kind of struck that one down a little bit, but he's on the board here at 3,700. So there are a lot of 3,000 and change guys on DK where you can kind of build those big lineups out with multiple stars. I think there's still a path to get there on FanDuel, but it's not quite as clear. So guys that stand out to me in that range would be LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Giannis. Those are my 3 favorites. Those are the guys I've been trying to get to all day. Super expensive for both LeBron and Giannis, 11,000 plus for both of them. Giannis pushing 12,000 on DK. Jimmy's price kind of makes things work. 8,500 on the FanDuel slate, 93 on DK. I really like the value that Jimmy Butler can give you there, positively leveraged on both sides too. So I think there's some very, very interesting star plays at the forward spot. I agree with you there. Randall, a little bit further down the board for me. I like the optimal lineup rate on FanDuel. I don't really like it on DK where he costs 10.5. He's 8,700 and power forward and center eligible on FanDuel. So he's a completely different play across sites. That's one that we win on the blue site versus DK. So I'm happy to take shares of him over there, but he's efficiently owned. So you're really not clawing back a ton against the field for a guy who's kind of underperformed for the season for what he was last year and what we kind of expected from him, but still nice 1.12 fantasy points per minute. Nothing to get too worried about there. At 8,700, I like it.
Okay. We've got so many questions. Why stop talking about Gravit? I'm not rostering Hassani Gravit on this slate. There's just like a 0% chance. Do I have a share in 190? I have 0.8%. So I take that back. That makes it one lineup out of 100 plus that I have going here. 90 something, 192 lineups. Yeah. So there you go. Don't roster him. How about that? Let's continue on here at the forward spot though. I love that top end. I think you covered that really, really nicely. A lot of pieces of value though. We talked about Corey Kispert. Let's talk about Naz Reid, where he is power forward eligible. Is he power forward center over on FanDuel as well? No, he is center only. That's a bummer. Okay, well, more applicable for me, obviously, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to prioritize him on DK for sure. On FanDuel, I'll definitely get to some. So talk to me about Naz Reid, 4,800 on the DraftKings slate, where you can play him at a power forward spot.
I mean, you've got to love that play now. 64.8% boom score probability, 41.6% optimal. Still with the field trailing significantly. I expect that'll catch up. We're talking about him. All the other sites are probably talking about him now that we've got the confirmed news. But multi-position really helps his cause over on DK. You don't have to sweat. I mean, I know we've got the util spot so we can play two centers anyway, but that just adds to the flexibility. You don't really have to sweat the opportunity cost on any of the big centers. If you want to roster a guy like Nikola Jokic, you can do it alongside Naz Reid, and he helps you get there now. So I really like that play on DK for 4,800. I wish he had the power forward eligibility on FanDuel. He's still coming up 27.3% optimal over there against only 13.9% ownership. If that ownership climbs into the 20 range, I'm still pretty comfortable playing him as a leverage play. It's only about the sacrifice of all the other center only plays that you have to make in getting to that. And that includes guys like Valanciunas, it includes Jokic, it includes Embiid. So there's definitely opportunity cost involved in Naz Reid on FanDuel tonight. Like to play a lot better on DK, but I think we got to take shares out of him on both sides.
Yeah, Gary Temple, 3,600 on FanDuel. I absolutely love that play. I'm going to like him more than just about anybody you talk about in value, sub 4K on both sites. That's just kind of how that's setting up for anybody asking in the chat, which of course I'm referencing all the time here. Let's see. Somebody was asking about what was the you want to know about? Caleb Martin. I have 0 Caleb Martin. How about you?
You didn't see him come up in any of these. I can check him out on
0%.
Yeah, it wasn't really somebody who was leaping to the top of my board. Looks like Alex has him 5% optimal, 2.5% on FanDuel, 5% on DK, slightly overowned. It's a ownership play at 0.7% on FanDuel. If you wanted to make it, fine. 6% on DK, fine. You're not going to really hurt yourself, but I just don't expect much upside. 15% boom score probabilities. Got him projected for a 26-minute night. Not overly exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Could he go out and just shoot the rock out, like just go nuts? Maybe. Yeah. We saw him do that one random game earlier. Jimmy Butler was not there, and he's definitely had some of these spike games. I don't know if he starts or not. I would say he probably doesn't, based on Jimmy Butler returning, kind of more of a positional deal where I don't see how he gets in there. PJ Tucker being out could open up for that possibility, but I think Max Strus or Gabe Vincent is going to be the guy that kind of slots in there more than likely for me. Gabe Vincent's a lock to start. Max Strus started the last 3. I see no reason he wouldn't. Caleb Martin, I see being in a bench role, mid-20s minutes. So, if you think that he can go in a 6th-man role alongside Tyler Hero and still eat up some usage, worth a shot, but I'm not going to do it. Best of luck with that one here. We've got another super chat. Hey, guys, quick question on the Milwaukee game for Showdown DK. I'm not looking at Showdown here right now, but I will give you an assessment on the play. Is RJ Hampton a good value play? He's a fantastic value play everywhere. Would you agree, Terry?
Yeah, for sure. He would potentially make a strong captain play depending on what you can do with the rest of that lineup at cost. But yeah, I think he's definitely on the board for Showdown format there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you can get the $3 in, awesome. But like for me, I'm definitely trying my best to find Alex talks about this a lot in NFL Showdown. I think it's pretty applicable to NBA too, where you want to be a little bit overweight to the guys you think can finish as the top scorers, because there are paths to not being 100% optimal with the top score, but it is really hard to win a showdown without the top score up in that top spot. You kind of need every other buck to hit value of like 40 plus, and you'd have to have the only path being RJ Hampton to be able to get it. But I would assume he's still going to gain some traction in that spot, but no doubt about it. RJ Hampton, decent value. Best of luck on that. What do you guys think about Robin Lopez? We'll get to that here at center, and I'll cover that super chat for you, Safeton. Thank you so much for that. But rest of the forward spot here, I talked about Herbert Jones and that Pelicans situation. I really have nothing I want to be playing from Toronto now. I really have nothing that I'm looking to play from Cleveland as well, with Okoro being active. So Kevin Love completely off the board for me. The one guy that is kind of vaulted, for me, kind of just in the landscape, like the landscape of the way this slate looks, is Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is just an absolute smash for me at small forward only, 9,300 on DK. We talk about how different it is having him out there, 1.25 DraftKings points per minute player, and just having his return to that lineup. That's what makes all of these other ancillary values from Miami look so terrible for me, is just Jimmy Butler's existence. So I'm going to pay up for his upside. Terry, is he somebody you had your eye on?
Absolutely. He was the first click I made today for basically every lineup that I've been building and messing around with hand building and in our lineup builder, trying to figure out these different configurations. I think he's going to be a key to this slate. I like him even better at 8,500 small forward and shooting guard eligible on FanDuel. I think that's just bananas. That's a lock. That's not a lock, but it's a very, very strong go-to spot. I got to be careful with my words there, and I hate using
I know. You always want to be careful. Always.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to your point, 1.27 fantasy points per minute for the year, 1.27 over the last 3. Last year, he was a 1.36 per minute player on slightly less usage. So with the expectation of Bam and Lowry being out, him just being a usage monster in this spot, he can rack up assists. He can grab some rebounds. He's got a 60% true shooting, 27% assist share. He just does everything out on the court. He's the exact definition of the kind of player that I like to get to. And I think the price is broken on the FanDuel slate. So I'm excited to get to Jimmy Butler here.
All right, let's keep it flying. Brad Kaufman, SGA or Halliburton for a DK high dollar. Thank you, $5 super chat here. SGA for me, not close.
Same.
All right, cool. Safe in. What do you guys think about Robin Lopez? We will get back to that here once again at the center position. So we'll fire that off here. Anything else for you from the forward spot before we move on?
I think there's some quality mix and match type guys from the 4 and 5.
That's kind of the way I feel. Like David Nwaba, we didn't even talk about, or something like that. Get a couple shares of him. Why not?
Yeah, Nwaba is definitely interesting, right? 12.3% optimal on FanDuel against 3.4% ownership. That's a nice little leverage play. On DK, 14.4% optimal, 9% ownership. Still a strong leverage play at 3,400. He's 4,500 on the FanDuel slate, small forward and shooting guard. You can move him around. You can pick up some value. He can potentially replace some of those Minnesota values that we talked about earlier in the show. And he's a guy that people are not confident in rostering. So he's not a popular play. 1.0 fantasy points per minute on 16.1% usage over the course of the season. 1.14 in 20 minutes a game over the last 3. So I think there's definitely upside for price. I like the price better on DK. I like the positional flex that we get out of him on FanDuel, and I'm going to see if he can make my lineups that I had work.
All right. He said, just a question from the chat. Sean Mulcahy? What are the two? Mulcahy. It's got to be Mulcahy. But either way, he's talking about, who did he even just bring up? Davis Bertans. Not for me whatsoever. Like legitimately no chance I can roster him anymore. I know he had a decent enough outing last time out. 23% usage was nice to see him get above there, but on FanDuel, they're 3,900. I'm going to find money to get up to Denny Avdia or Kyle Kuzma specifically over on that site. Looks really, really good at 5,900. So FanDuel, that's kind of where I'm going. Anything else you want to talk about from Washington?
From Washington, not really. Kuzma's kind of on the board there in terms of the forward options. And then just the way I was going to round that off before was with some of those just mid-range plug and play, mix and match type guys like Lauri Markkanen at 5,500. Both forward spots on the FanDuel slate is interesting. A little less so on DK at 59. Juan Toscano Anderson in that Golden State rotation for only 45. Similar, somewhat interesting. 10-ish optimal lineup rate on both sites. Ownership below that, so a positively leveraged play. So I think there are some just interesting mix and match type guys. THT is probably, it would fall into that category, but he's getting 35% ownership on FanDuel, where he's a $4,800 play. So I think he's really interesting, but maybe some of these other guys make a little bit more sense to pivot away from that massive ownership share, because he's not the most inspiring of plays. 0.79 fantasy points per minute over the course of the season. The salary is okay. The salary is probably right on FanDuel, definitely overpriced on DK. I just don't love it with that much ownership weight. So I might take some of the shares of those other guys to try and offset some of the ownership there.
Yeah, the Otto Porter thing, I've never understood everybody talking about him. I know he played well on Christmas and he was a thing, and Draymond Green's out. Maybe he'll play more minutes here. I don't know what that starting lineup looks like, but I know that Andre Iguodala is probable, and that's a problem. So you have a major problem kind of getting infused into that grouping. Kuminga's been picking up minutes. Bielitsa's probably going to be playing backup 5 here. There's a lot of paths where, Otto Porter at 6,500, it's just like impossible for me to get over to that number over on FanDuel. Looking at his tag over on DK here, going between the sites, Otto Porter, I'm more inclined to maybe take a shot or two, 4,900. I'm assuming he probably starts in this spot. I think Iguodala will still be coming off the bench there. He's really shot the lights out of it, though, the last 3, and I don't want to be going too nuts with that. Anything for you from the forward spot here at Golden State?
No, I think Toscano Anderson, like I said, on FanDuel would be somewhat interesting given the price.
Yeah, he's the priority for me if I'm going to take a shot on anybody there. He's cheapest too. And totally agree. Can't get to Otto for 6.5. I don't think, even if he plays 28 minutes versus the 23 we've got him projected for, I just don't see him getting all that relevant with all these other pieces. That's just too high a price. 4,900, I'd be a little bit more interested in him maybe on DK. But again, he's coming up 2% optimal. He's already 8% owned. That's just not a play I'm really going to get excited about or really go out of my way for. So I'd even prefer, maybe go to Bielitsa
in that spot, 3,600
Mhm.
power forward eligibility. It's not like it's a much stronger play, but he's coming up the reverse. He's 8% optimal, 3% ownership. So I'd rather have him than Otto.
Okay, that's fair. We got another 2v2, Avdia Curry or Nwaba Jokic. DK GPP, that's from John Good. So Avdia Curry, Nwaba Jokic. I think it's the second one for me, not close.
Yeah. Yeah, the Nwaba play definitely makes that workable there versus Avdia. I think that's your big differentiator there. And then the points per minute on Jokic, whenever you can get him in your lineup, I suggest doing so. So yeah. I like that. I like that second group a lot better.
I mean, Curry's going to just be really, 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 really low owned compared to what you would expect for a guy like Steph Curry, for sure. The ceiling's still there, but I mean, Jokic is the best fantasy producer on the planet. And, you know, absent Draymond Green, maybe we see a little bit of spike here for Steph Curry in terms of the assists, but he's going to be chucking the ball. There's more paths for Jokic to get there for me. And I would rather, you know, looking at Steph Curry at 15% and Jokic at 22%, I'm just going to take Jokic every single time in that kind of a situation. Also, guys, we're going to be hanging around 10 minutes here before lock. Start getting your lineups in. But Jock Market, that is what we're going to be talking about here in 10 minutes after we, of course, recap some of the ownership that pops up from this early game. It's so much fun to be playing over at Jock Market because they've turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. You have the opportunity to, in every minute, every second, every hour of every single game, buy and sell shares of players in real time for real cash. And if you use promo code Awesemo, $50 bonus on your first deposit. Simply download the app over here on the Apple Store, Google Play Store, and they'll have markets available for the NFL. They'll have markets available, obviously, for the NBA, which we're covering tonight. NHL, that comes back here tonight. And then PGA, that's going to be starting up here in less than 2 weeks. Looking forward to having some PGA back in our lives here, especially because I just got done playing the golf course that they're starting it off over at Kapalua here on my honeymoon. That's fun times, humble brag. But here we go. Buy, sell, hold shares during the games of these players. Plus, you'll get a first market guarantee. So if you play in any of these markets, specifically this NBA one that we're going to cover tonight, and you lose up to $100, they will cover it completely free to you. So up to $100 that is risk-free playing over at Jock Market. So download the app. We're going to be hanging out, talking our free Jock Market IPO projections and analysis here coming up very, very shortly. Excited to be chatting with Terry about that. So be ready, be on the lookout for that, but use promo code Awesemo, get that $50 and good luck tonight. All right, Terry, we got 8 minutes here. We got to cover the center position because it's a very, very important one here. We also got news and manual quickly uncertain to play. That's kind of fascinating there. So, Kemba Walker was somebody I already liked. So here we go. Omer Yurtseven. He is the highest owned dude over on the DK slate at 4,800. I think that's appropriate, but I'm not getting to 32% because of Jokic, because of Daniel Gafford sub 20%, because of Jonas Valanciunas. I think I'll be able to swap out of that number 9,700 at center. I think I have some paths to get away from that a little bit. I even like Christian Wood down there, getting no rostership at 11%. That's a low number, 8,500. Really cheap on the FanDuel slate as well. Where are you looking at going at the center position?
So, the easy answer is Nikola Jokic, wherever you can afford him. I think that's just a plug and play superstar option if you can get him, right? 1.68 fantasy points per minute over the last 3, 1.72 on the season, 72.4 in 38 minutes the last time out. Just absolutely adore Nikola Jokic anytime I can get to him. But there's a lot of other strong options. We talked about the value guys like Naz Reid, like Yurtseven. So both of those guys very, very much in play. You're getting negative leverage on the Yurtseven play, which is a little bit concerning. 4,800 at the center only spot. Maybe we pivot some of those shares over to Naz Reid, who's still, as of the most recent update, pulling a 6.2 positive leverage score. It's a 30% ownership versus a 31, but you get Naz 36% optimal versus a 21% optimal rate for your Yurtseven. So that's a noticeable difference. And that's something that the field hasn't really caught up on yet. So I'd be trying to smash some of those plays into there. Adam brought up the OKC situation on the last show. I think both Muscala and Isaiah Roby are very interesting for their DK prices. Roby is interesting at 3,500 on the FanDuel slate. Muscala a little bit less so for 3,800, just because of some of the opportunity cost, I guess, knocks him down a peg. But either one of those guys on DK is at least somewhat compelling, coming up slightly positively leveraged on both guys, reasonable expectation of production. They're both projected in the median for around 24 points, but we've got them both carrying 50% plus boom score probabilities, which is definitely interesting in guys that are projected to play around 25 minutes tonight. So I like those plays. I really like the Joval play, although that looks like it's come down a little bit in terms of our numbers just because of some of these values I think that have emerged. Christian Wood, I think, is definitely a bit of a sleeper, particularly on DK where he's only pulling 11% ownership. The price hasn't bumped up on FanDuel at 7,900. He's 20% owned on FanDuel, 8,500 and center only on DK. It's a lot more sneaky, but it's still a quality play. So I could get to that. We talked about Randall a little bit on before, but we could circle back through him. Joel Embiid, another guy, star caliber player, only pulling 15% ownership on FanDuel, 11% ownership on DK. It's negative leverage, but it's a spot where I am willing to overlook that for a few additional shares and just grab the star power of a guy like Embiid. 61-point fantasy night on FanDuel in 31 minutes the last time out. Definitely a guy who's capable of coming out and bending the slate for you. So definitely think a little bit of sneaky Embiid there. And then there's a ton of little mix and match type options. You mentioned Gafford. I think Kevon Looney could be interesting even in 24 minutes.
All right, Terry, we got to jump over. We've got 5 super chats here to jump on super quick because people have got 5 minutes to get their lineups in. I don't know if it is totally applicable here to the front end, but you are my favorite person on planet Earth. I just need to fly through these here. Thomas Buckley, $5. Thank you so much. Sorry if you went over it, but you guys like Kispert? I was getting a ton in my crunch at like 60%, but I feel like that is a wild number. What do you think about 60% Kispert on this slate?
60% Kispert feels a little bit high for me. Did we have a site on that?
Yeah. Doesn't have a site, but either site, wrong number for me. I get it. He's going to be popular. It's a ton of minutes. The value isn't as prevalent as what it was getting all these Minnesota pieces back, Toronto pieces back. I think that's going to be a theme of a lot of these slates going forward is you have this unpredictability of certain guys showing back up. So when you remove players from a certain team, obviously these Washington guys look a lot better. I'm just not inclined to have 60% on a dude who could legitimately go out, if he doesn't shoot it well, put up like 5 for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's about that. It's about that limited per minute mark that we've gotten for him from the season, and the fact that he's 18.7% projected ownership. So I don't think we need to go 3 times the field on that play. You know, if you're 1.5 times the field, get him. If he's 18%, even if he ticks up to like 25%, get in the 30s somewhere. Be comfortably over if you want the play that badly. I'm just not that excited about the play. Again, 0.6 fantasy points per minute over the course of the season in all situations, just kind of uninspiring. So it's not a guy I'm excited about, not a guy I'm going out of my way for. He does grade out well in the tools, but I think that's aggressive in that ownership.
All right. So now we got Curry or LeBron, $1.99, no site given. I will say, for me, both sites, it's going to be LeBron.
It's LeBron on both sites, but if you can figure out a way to get them both, I don't hate that either.
I love that too. Thomas Buckley. Sorry, we covered that one. We've got I'm Real Forever, FanDuel, Yurt 7 or Gafford. I like both a lot. On DK, you can play 2, but on FanDuel, you can only pick one. Which one would you prioritize, Terry?
Those guys are like right next to each other on our boards. I was a little bit more excited about Gafford because he's cheaper. He saves you $300, and that can be a crucial $300 on FanDuel. It's a little tighter on the FanDuel slate where the values are. You're talking about guys in the 4s rather than guys in the 3s like you get on DK. So it's a little bit tougher to build those multi-star lineups on FanDuel. So that could be an important $300. Give me Gafford, and a little bit less ownership there too.
All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? I think, am I all caught up, Jordan? Is that everybody? Did I get all of that? I can't see you. One more? I've got one more. Okay. Send that to me here because I'm just kind of uploading everything here on this end. Get your crunches in here, Terry, as we're going. Josh, there we go. Josh Allen, Kispert or Temple? I'm leaning Temple. I am definitely leaning Temple everywhere. How about you, Terry?
Yeah, I think you and I were in enthusiastic agreement going down with the ship with Garrett Temple tonight. Hey. That's just disturbing. That's one I look forward to getting some comments on later on.
Yeah, no, the boss man, I think associates me randomly with Garrett Temple. That the one time I just made a good call on the guy, I have 77% of him tonight. I don't think that's the right number, but you know, I'm kind of doing the shortened process here today. I'm firing it up. I'm happy to just be way over the field. Plus, he's later on here. I'm happy to always get later players and swap out of some stuff. A little bit easier for me to do later. All you need to do is just make sure that you get your Giannis lineups in. Holy crap. I'm going to actually be sweating here. Coming down to the wire. But Terry, any final words for this slate of stuff that you're kind of looking at that the people need to know before lock?
Well, we're going to be talking about a lot of jock market coming up. So you got a couple minutes no, you don't actually have those couple minutes, but you might be able to grab a nice last second IPO price in here, because that's an important part of jock market, is grabbing those IPOs and getting in cheap. It's just like stocks. You want to get in cheap before they hit the public market, because then they shoot up. You can grab guys for cheap in the IPO phase and sell them immediately coming out the gate after the slate locks. It's really, really fun and interesting to play over there. So I'm just trying to cover us for one of the sponsors because I really don't know where I'm going with this slate. I didn't get this final lineup configured the way I wanted it to. I'm only playing 3 on FanDuel and I'm having an issue, but everybody kicks off later on tonight. So I can make some changes as we go through the next slate. And I got my Giannis shares. So that was really my only concern in that first game, like you talked about there. And then we've got a bunch of 7:30, 8 o'clock and later players. So we can make some changes here.
Yeah, and RJ Hampton, I got to a little bit, obviously. That he's made sense of 3,200 on DK. So I played a little bit there. I think that was, just fine, and got to 32% of him there. So I'm just pretty much at the field. And we are officially at lock. Holy crap. Max Strus has entered health and safety protocols as we're breaking on to this show. Are you kidding me? Oh, Jordan Klein. Look at that. We got a Toronto Raptors starting lineup. Flynn, Trent Jr., Watanabe, Siakam, and Boucher. And then the starting lineup for the Wizards: Dinwiddie, Kispert, Avdia, Kuzma, Gafford. I like pretty much everybody appearing in that lineup, that's for sure. But Max Strus,
with Strus going into the protocol, does that change your take on Caleb Martin at all?
Yeah, it does. So, hi, hello, how are we doing, everybody? Caleb Martin, not the play that he was before here. There's definitely a good chance. I mean, Max Strus has started the last 3. Now it's going to become Caleb Martin. If you could tell that was coming, congratulations to you. But like Max Strus, that's just freaking crazy, man. That's nuts. All right, well. Anything that you want to just kind of touch on for that? Because I think we should get into some jack market, but I think we can definitely cover that now, considering, there's definitely probably some underappreciated value. I would be firing up some of those ancillary pieces, specifically getting Caleb Martin now as we jump into jack market.
Yeah, I think Martin would be the guy who benefits a little bit there. We already had a decent projection on Gabe Vincent. We already had Dunk getting his usual share. So just by default, I think it goes to Martin. I think that makes some sense. 5,100 shooting guard small forward on FanDuel. I still think there are better, more playable values overall. 4,000 on DK. He does become pretty interesting shooting guard small forward. So I think that's one that you can go grab and make some swaps there. That's not.
Here's the thing. I was never going to play Caleb Martin, and now obviously you lose Max Strus. You are looking at more minutes for Caleb Martin. Completely different situation against David. I don't know if you knew that was going to be a thing or not, but we just got that starting lineup. Butler, Vincent, Martin, Robinson, you're at 7. I definitely like Caleb Martin now.
There you go. Yeah, that's all the reason to drop him into some lineups real quick. And yeah, if that person knew that was coming, I encourage you to go play Lotto tonight as well, because that would have been a great.
I'm a college student, but I'll work for you guys. Send in a resume. You never know what happens. Guys, we're at Jock Market. Let's chat a little bit here about them. I'll take a look, and I just want to see what Giannis's ownership was in the $15 over on DK. Always think that's a fascinating lead into some of these shows, is chatting about some of the big plays on the slate. I know that I definitely had a lot of Giannis in that. He was 16.2%. So that's really kind of my major sweat here. I know I had one share. RJ Hampton, 37.2%. That's a big number on him. Definitely 3,200. I get it. Plus can be high usage. So happy to take some shots there. But hey, everybody, let's talk some jock market. And this is, once again, we're past the IPO phase. So before IPO phase, you're able to get the players at a little bit of a discount. But now we want to be reacting to news live. Was that you sneezing? Bless you. Were you sneezing?
It wasn't me. I heard it too, but it wasn't me. I think it was that. Well done, Jordan.
Interesting.
I'm hearing something. Are we getting it's like an electronic.
Any idea what that is? I don't think it's on my end. It's the jock market bell.
So they probably heard it a lot better on YouTube. He was trying to do the right thing and lower the volume so we didn't hear it, and just screwed us all up. Way to go.
If Jordan Klein was a better producer, he'd let me hear the damn bell that's introducing our segment for job market. How about that? Oh, he found it. Okay, that's great. That's great. He's wearing his Cleveland Guardians hat today, so we're not going to even acknowledge him. What a bad human being. God,
he's wearing an outdated Cleveland Guardians hat, if we're going to be more specific.
Completely. I'm judging you differently, Jordan Klein. But either way, we've got jock market to talk about. We have free projections that are online here for this, go over to Awesemo, go to the NBA tab, go to our projections tab, go to the bottom, and you have Jock Market pre-IPO phase and during the IPO phase, obviously, projections. We're going to be reacting to some of the stuff that happens with Giannis specifically, but looking at the top of the board, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, 1750 and 1740 here for fair IPO prices. What are their current prices here? I took it off the TV here because I always got to be on my phone for Jock Market. So I want to jump over here. Again, free advertising here behind. If anybody wants to hit that up for the TV, we could have like Bob's Burgers or something advertised on the TV during shows, but otherwise Jock Market. What? You don't like Bob's Burgers? Jordan Klein, have you never had a Bob's Big Burger? Oh, you got to get back up to Toluca Lake, my friend. But either way, which one would you prefer if you chose one? Nikola Jokic or LeBron James on the top end here?
Right now, I would be grabbing shares of LeBron James at the $15.57 asking price. That is well below the $17.40 that Alex hasn't projected for the IPO price. His IPO closed at $15.37. If you look at Jokic, it's the same story, but it's a higher current ask. Current ask is $16.81. The IPO closed at $16.50. Alex had him projected as a $17.50 fair IPO price. So you've got more room on LeBron in terms of the current ask, and the current ask just ticked up a little bit, 1562 now. So you got to grab these shares quick. But a lot of these guys seem like they went off under their fair IPOs in the star range right now. So there are some interesting plays up at the top.
We just got a $10 super chat. Again, that's an easy way to have us, deviate very, very quickly and then come back. But the losers win again. Dude, you've just been chatting up a storm. We appreciate you. Would you pivot off of Yurt 7 with Herbert Jones to go up to Martin over Nwaba? Look, Yurt 7 and Herbert Jones are both fantastic plays. Still, the thing about it is that this news came out after lock. Martin over Nwaba. For me, like legitimately, Nwaba is just kind of like a meh play, whereas like Martin is going to be underutilized because this news broke late. So if it's just one lineup, I don't want to necessarily tell you that, but I can tell you that the rostership will definitely go down in that lineup rostering Martin. What do you think about that one, Terry?
Did we have a site?
Nope, no site. I'm assuming DraftKings because the way that the pricing works out. Jones going to Martin over Nwaba, you're basically talking about like a util spot or a small forward, power forward.
Yeah, they're the same price on FanDuel, so there's no salary gain there. So yeah, correct. You pick up the 800 by dropping to Jones. You sacrifice some optimal lineup rate, but you also gain in terms of the raw ownership projection. So I'd be willing to make that swap to get from Nwaba to the Martin play. I'm just more comfortable with the Martin play in the current role. We did talk about Nwaba, how people don't like to play him, despite the fact that he's a 1.0 fantasy point per minute contributor for the season. So there is that factor there, but I think we gain by making that swap down.
Man, the ask on LeBron James, 1572, same thing for Jokic, 1681. I think that would be something that I would want to have some shares of if I had my free $100, where you got it refunded up to $100 of my investment that I had over on Jock Market. So I'd use promo code Awesemo and utilize that here now. I think that makes a lot of sense. So
and a great way to look at that is
really liking that.
Yeah, a great way to look at that is, in addition to comparing it to Alex's fair IPO prices, is when you go to make your bid and your purchase price. And right now it's at a $15.72 ask, but you can set a $16 marker on that if you wanted to and say, I want all shares between here and $16 that I can afford. And it'll do that. It will execute that trade for you. So if you plug him in at 16, he's got to finish top 4 in fantasy points for the night to deliver break-even value. So we like LeBron to get into the top 4. He's the second highest projected in Alex's by less than a point. So I definitely think there's upside in doing something like that and grabbing additional shares of LeBron. It also does depend on how much money you've got to spend. And you can do that as well. You can gain major profits by going down the list towards some of the cheaper guys and just booking additional shares when you see an advantage like that where, all right, this guy's already, especially in games that have already started, this guy's already booked 8-10 fantasy points in the first 4 minutes of the first quarter. So now it's easy enough for him to cruise to like a mid-range 30, coming in 30th as his break-even price is no longer a major challenge for that guy. So you book a safe floor by doing that, and then it's all gravy. It's all upside from there. So those are the plays I'm always on the lookout for here, but LeBron fits into that paradigm right now.
All right, let's keep it on moving here. I'm seeing some other spots. I was trying to find some value, some like really nice value. Again, you're going to get a lot of it in the pre-IPO phase. Like you really, really want to be in that IPO phase to be able to get some shares of players. it's going to help immensely. I will say that much here. Kemba Walker sitting at 746 here. I think our projections currently have, maybe Emmanuel quickly. Was he projected in on the front end for us? Because again, I think that is going to matter big time. Yes, we gave him 21 minutes here. With him out, I think Kemba Walker is still somebody that I would want to get to. We've seen him play just a ton of minutes. Now, this is his first start outside of Madison Square Garden since then. And the guy basically going back to Connecticut now in the NBA has just kind of owned that building. I don't want to go home road split in the NBA too much. I don't think that's something that I've ever really looked at, but I will say I'm not as enthusiastic on an inflated price tag of Kemba as what I was before, but with no quickly there, I still think he's undervalued on Jock Market here at, what is he, 746. I think that at that ask price, I'm willing to get over that. How about you, Terry, the Knicks fan of Awesemo.com?
So I really want that title. You say so many nice, flattering, glowing things about me, and now you just insult me like that. But yeah,
sorry,
it is true. It is the case.
Sorry.
The issue there is we had him for a $5 fair IPO price. Alex has him projected 29.79. The projection on Jock Market is 29.75, which puts him as a 36th ranked guy on the board. That's around, a little bit higher than that in terms of the players we projected here. But you get a little bit concerning if you want to go to 751, the current ask for Kemba. He's got to finish top 20 now. I don't know that the quickly difference makes that up for him. I think we might be a little high on that ask. The current bid is only 546. So if you wanted to throw out, say, a $6 bid, the fair price the Jock Market's listing him at right now is 656. If you wanted to throw out a bid around there and see if you can entice some people to sell into you under the current ask price, I'd be more inclined to do that. I'd try and pick him off like 650, somewhere around there, where we're not taking such a major leap on that news from where we had him in terms of the fair market. The other way to look at that, if Kemba comes out of the gate and has 10 by the midpoint of the first quarter, grab him at 750 if you still can. So that's one I would just kind of keep my eye on as that game starts.
I love that. Again, that's the fun part is like, if you're on your couch watching these games in real time, there's no reason that you can't be making money at the same time. And, when we're tracking our lineups and such, now Jock Market, the real appeal of playing over there for me is just being able to capitalize on what I'm seeing, whether it's foul trouble, if there's certain rotations that are just a little bit wonkier. Like last night, that Clippers game was such an obvious opportunity to invest in like a Brandon Boston at like $1. I was able to get shares at like $1 for a guy that was obviously going to be playing the entire fourth quarter. And while I was lamenting it because of my Eric Bledsoe shares in DFS, I knew Eric Bledsoe wasn't coming back in the game, and it just made all the sense in the world to try to take shots on them. I took shots on Bembry, especially his price went down hard after you got the technical. It got reported at a news site incorrectly that he got ejected after 2 technical fouls last night. He only had one. He had one of them that got called on somebody else in the first half. And I was able to capitalize on a little bit of that news. That kind of stuff is going to be what makes you profitable on a lot of these sites. In the same way that Greg Ehrenberg, our friend, by the way, give him all of our best over on Twitter, everybody. Terry filling in phenomenally well here today. But if I'm looking at a lot of the things that he's taught me just in terms of reacting to news with Sportsbet, with the opportunity to do that, there is no difference in heading over to Jock Market and capitalizing the same.
Yeah, for sure. I've been having a blast playing on Jock Market. I've talked about it on a lot of different shows when they both are and aren't sponsoring those shows. So It's a really fun site. To me, particularly after lock, right? After lock with the other sites, we're just kind of making our swaps. We're trying to optimize our lineups. This is an active site after lock where you're making trades. You're swapping into guys, you're swapping out of guys, but you're doing it while making profit. Like if I buy a bunch of shares of, let's say, Kispert for $3 right now, it's a $3 ask. They've got them at a $270 fair market price. We had them at a $170 pre-IPO price, but I think given the news change, we might not have caught up to that one necessarily. So I think that could be potentially interesting to grab him now. And then if he starts hot, maybe you don't get too excited, too over the top about shares. But if he starts hot, he's a guy who gained some buzz in the end of a lot of shows around the industry. For $3, you can take out a few shares and then flip them for probably $4 or $5. You're making a couple bucks a share, and you can do that all night long and rack up profit. You can also just book extreme numbers of some of the better plays on the board if you've got the money in your account to do it, and then just ride them to the end and hope that you finish in the right spots. A guy you need a break even of 10th or better finishes second, you get a nice little payout there. So it all depends on where you're buying and where you're selling, but it's the old buy low, sell high concept. It's a lot of fun. And they need
All
more
right.
volume. I will throw that in there. We need you guys to jump on this site because it makes it more engaging. It makes it a more active market. There's more trading, the more people that are playing on here. So it just makes it more and more fun and gives it more and more opportunity, the more people that play.
I agree. And looking at Devontae Graham sitting sub $6, again, I think that that's something you have to look at all these pieces that are out. I want to get as many shares as possible, even against Cleveland, where they're 5-point dogs here on the road, or sorry, at home, 5-point dogs at home. I want to get to a ton of Devontae Graham in the event that Jonas Valanciunas is out. That is a gigantic piece of news. I think we should all have kind of a Guillermo Hernan-Gomez plan intact. And I know 5,300, he hasn't exactly gotten there the last 2 games as mega chalk, but he'd be starting. He would be my favorite tournament play on the board in the event that we get J Val out of there. So just be on the lookout for that. We're going to have tons of lineup spots, but you want to talk late swap. That is your late swap tip of the day. Be on the lookout for Jonas Valanciunas. Enjoy. Devontae Graham, though, sub $6 becomes my favorite play from the Pelicans. Yes, even over Garrett Temple over on Jock Market. Not that that should be something I have to explain, but Guillermo Hernan-Gomez as well. What's he going for? Because that is just such a 1-for-1 swap and smash. It's not even close.
He's
not listed on this one.
He's at a 471 ask currently. His 331 bid, so you could middle that. The fair price right now is 429 on Jock Market, and that's something that you could drop with people asking 471, but the bid at 331, you could drop in like a $4 bid and probably get a couple buys on that. You can probably go up to the 471 ask price on him if we get that news. So that's one definitely worth monitoring the Joval news for, and I would jump on that play. Guy that we know can produce a fair amount of fantasy points in not all that much run. The guy that's really standing out as a massive mistake by the field is Nathan Knight right now.
Yes.
And it's because Jock Market didn't change their projection. Jock Market had him at a 36.17 fantasy point projection. They didn't change that projection based on Naz Reid being in. So that creates a massive inefficiency in the market. People bid, he went off at a 625 IPO. He's, damn it, I hate how that closes. When you do that. Jock Market, if you're listening, one recommendation I would make is when you hit the little back arrow, don't send it out of the slate. Send me back to the player menu. Thanks. But right now he's sitting at a $7.58 ask. He went off at a 625 and his current bid is 750. So people are still trying to buy Nathan Knight for 750 right now. Alex dropped him to a fair IPO price of 70 cents.
That seems bad.
That's an inefficiency. If you bought shares of Nathan Knight in the $3 and $4 range, you're making a killing on him right now. If you even bought him at the IPO, it's $6 and change. If you were the winner there, you're making a few bucks per share. I would recommend getting out of those shares if you want him right now.
Why did Eric say quickly is out? Why did Eric say quickly is out? Why did Eric say quickly is out? Because he's uncertain to play and he's not going to play. That's why I said it. He's not going to play. So just
sometimes
assess that.
Simple questions have simple answers.
Again, it's like 99.9999%. By the way, I don't know if you saw the chat, if you saw the news, John Madden, 85 years old, has passed away.
Oh,
I know. I was going to say. So, yep, respect. Take the
that's a
headphones
sad one.
off and tip it. I'm going to say.
Going to be a
John Madden. There we go.
At least he lives on through his through his video game.
Tough acting to acting. Boom. That's the only one I can think of.
Love it.
Boom.
I grew up on those Madden and Summerall broadcasts. That was like in the wheelhouse for, ages, 8 through 17, somewhere around there when those guys were doing their games. I mean, it's classic. I wouldn't necessarily rely on those guys to give me like advanced analytics and all the stuff that we're into these days. But as far as your classic old school announcers go, there's just nobody better. He was a great.
Yeah. Frank Caliendo. Everybody should check out some of that here while you're at it too. He lost one guy earlier this year that he can't cover anymore. At least he can keep going with the John Madden one. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Rip John Madden. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a bummer. But we continue on here with some Jock Market here. Once again, use promo code Awesemo. Get that free money in your account. Do you like free money? Well, get $50 of it. That's how you build sustained bankrolls. That's what you do. Like that's taking advantage of sportsbook promotions, taking advantage of site promotions. That's kind of the name of the game as you're starting out. There's no doubt about it. And even if you are established, check out Jock Market and you will see very quickly why Terry and I enjoy playing over there so much. Not just because I underpaid for, some Garrett Temple and I'm going to absolutely smash with those shares over on Jock Market today. But because it's really, really fun, don't pay $5 for him right now here. I'm going to be waiting on that J-Val news big time because Jonas Valanciunas even, we got that update to the projections. Thank you so much to the boss, man. $10 it looks like for Jonas Valanciunas. What's his fair IPO price going for right now? Or what's his ask price, excuse me?
Joval? Joval's at a 1099 ask. Looks like the IPO went 1041. Current bid is 970. Yeah, there's a little bit of room to try and middle it, but not a lot. It's almost a $10 current bid, so you can't really get in there and pick it off. At $11, I'm not overly excited about it. And there's always the question of, how many available shares are there at that 1099 price? That might only be one share. Then the next price is 1150, something like that. It depends on what people are posting these for. So if you put in a buy of, let's call it 1150, that means you've got to get Joval 9th place or higher just to break even, let alone profit on that play. That's a little dicey for me.
All right, everybody. Yeah, I'm firing up some. I'm getting a little bit of Kemba Walker here too. So if anybody wanted to know what I was doing here at the moment, it's just kind of fixing all of the Knicks situation there. Specifically, looking at Jock Market, I thought that he was somebody that you could have gotten there a second ago. Looks like it's gone up a little bit here. Devontae Graham, since I said that, is up to 614. So that's not necessarily as good. Mike Muscala, I find it fascinating that somebody spent a lot of money to go get a guy that we don't even know necessarily what those minutes are going to look like. I want to play him or Roby. I just don't really know. I'm assuming it's going to be Roby starting, but that whole situation, he'll play some minutes, but I don't know why you'd want $5 of him at the moment. What's his fair IPO price in our projections? Because I'm assuming not good.
Yeah, we had them both. We had Muscala at $1.70. We had Roby at $1.60, and nothing has changed about that situation. So $4.99 current ask, $4.05. The bid is aggressive. I wouldn't pay the bid price, let alone the ask price. He went off at a $4.35 IPO, so he went off basically 3.5 times our fair IPO price. That's just a stay away. That's what you can do with these IPO prices, guys. If you see these guys start trending, $3 and $4 above their IPO price, pivot to something else because he's not going to be worth it.
Holy crap.
Uh-oh.
Wolves starting lineup. Holy crap.
Do I got to go back to my do I got to go back to my Noel and
Jordan McLaughlin. So Sarah McLaughlin in the arms of the starting point guard. Patrick Beverly. Sorry, Jordan Klein. I just got a head shake like you would not believe. Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, Jaden McDaniels, Nathan Knight.
I knew you were going to get there. All right, maybe forget about what I was saying about Nathan Knight on the Jock Market slate here. That gives me a little bit of hope.
How are you to know such things? I mean, this is not fun.
Gives me a little hope for my lineup that I left in FanDuel that had both McLaughlin and Knight in it, because that lineup also included Giannis, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A little bit of hope.
I mean, Nathan Knight played well yesterday. I think they know what they have in Naz Reid, and maybe that's why Nathan Knight saw some extended run.
I can see that.
I that's got to be my thinking behind it is, we played him for 29 minutes and, 8 for 11, double, and he actually played legitimately well. Got in some foul trouble, 5 fouls, but still played a boatload of minutes, 29 minutes here. I like how I had 90%, then I had 0%, and then I have 95% Naz Reid. Now I'm going to have 0%, and now I'm going to have Naz Reid. I don't trust the minutes at 4,800 that I would even remotely use him. And now at FanDuel, there's not a chance in hell I'm using a center spot on a guy that isn't starting here from Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's worth doing at all. It's definitely something you've got to try and get out of. What was that word? The trouble thing that you said he got in?
Foul trouble. He hit
what?
people. Did I say something weird?
What trouble? I'm not familiar with that.
I hate you so much.
I don't know that word.
God, why does everybody hate me when I say the word foul?
There you go. That got it.
You
didn't have usually there's
Midwest
like an
twang that I have.
You carry the end a little too far, I think. I just wanted to take the opportunity to get a shot in. I'm just looking through some of these plays. Guy that major price, Ricky Rubio, 922 current ask, 885 bid. Fair price on according to Jock Market is $5 and change right now. That's a little bit of a weird one. Projected for a $6 payout. Current ask is 922. If you went to $10 on Ricky Rubio, which would be what you'd probably have to do to get a bunch of shares here, he'd have to finish 12th or higher overall in fantasy points. Feel like the crowd's being a little aggressive on the Rubio shares. I like him a lot better on the DFS sites.
You know what's interesting? Our Caleb Martin Our projections didn't change a whole lot with him starting. Oh, we still have Max Strusson. Let me
That's
update this on
we should have
FanDuel.
checked out of the gate, actually.
Let me just double check quick.
See, Martin would have been a great IPO buy. If you had any inkling that he was going to be in the starting lineup, his IPO went at $241. His current bid is $4. So you could basically have practically doubled your money just coming out of the IPO before that game even starts.
That's so fun. Again, Jock Market.
That's what I love about this.
React to news. You have 6 minutes left here before we have this next 7:30 p.m. Eastern time start, and we lose 2 games off the board here. Washington, Miami, gigantic one. Philadelphia, Toronto. Yeah, you definitely made money on Caleb Barton right off the bat in the pre-game IPO. If you got into that, and if you fired up any of him in DFS, of course, now I'm going to have a little bit more. He just makes sense. When we got him at 5%, he's just going to be undervalued. That's really what it comes down to.
For sure. And so for me, what the question becomes then is, let's say the current ask is 438. Let's say we wanted to cast a net out to 450, even let's say 475, right? 475 gives them an implied break-even spot of 36th overall. I'm not all that comfortable saying Caleb Martin's definitely going to be in the top 35 of fantasy scorers, let alone give it enough room for him to turn a nice profit here. So I think in that situation, had I gotten him in the IPO phase for $2 and change, if I could sell all my shares around $4 and change, I think I'd take advantage of that and not ride that play all the way to close, because you've got that bust potential. You've got that opportunity. I would probably be looking to just sell off those shares now if I'd gotten them at 241 and just flip them for double value and then look elsewhere for some other opportunities. Do you see him reliably finishing, top, let's say 25, beat the break even by 10 spots?
Not a chance in hell. I mean, we still have him only projected for 25 over on DK. And again, FanDuel scoring more applicable, a little bit less, 24.5. Like, that's, you can't do it. Again, people are going to react to news in some of these spots. Like, there's no way around it. You should be reacting to the news. But this is kind of one of those things where it's overcorrected. I don't want to be going to any kind of these overcorrections. And again, Nathan Knight now is not the worst guy to get to over on Jock Market. We were just bashing that $7.50. And again, I'm looking around, and obviously news got us there. So pivot back to Yurtseven, Knight, and Kuzma instead of Martin, Reed, Nad, Avdia, or looking for a different group of 3. Again, I just think that you have to be looking at getting off of Reed entirely. I have 0 Reed interest. He's not free.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would just be looking to go to one of those other centers, and there were plenty of guys pulling value at that position, so you can definitely get off those shares, and I think that's the right play. I'm just trying to cast around would you have any interest in Alec Burks shares at a 349 ask? He went off at a 250 IPO, which was already ahead of Alex's $1.50 pre-IPO price, but that was before the Quickly news.
But I don't think people are reacting to stuff unless it says that they're out. Like, that seems to be kind of the sentiment I get, not just from YouTube chat, but from a lot of people lately, is people don't read between the lines very much. They kind of want to just be told what to do. Yeah. And so, so long as that exists, there will be edges to everything that you're doing. Specifically, you're on Jock Market. Alec Burks, if you just saw Emmanuel Quickly out, people would be reacting to that and flooding to it. I'm reacting to it now because I've been trying to tweak how much I'm getting to Kemba Walker here the entire time we've been talking, just to make sure that I get like the right number here. I don't want to be going nuts. I don't want to be losing my exposure to SGA, to De'Aaron Fox, and the late night hammer. There's just a number of spots that I still want to get to, but at the same time, no doubt about it, he stands out as a play that's undervalued, under $4 on Jock Market.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it's interesting. People right now, it's a pretty big discrepancy. 349 current ask, but only a $2.13 current bid. So if I tried to stick maybe a $3.10, $3.15 bid in there right now, I might get some bites on that and might pick up some shares cheap. Or you could just blow it out to like a $4, cast a net out to $4. I'm fairly comfortable with that. He'd need to break even point 42nd overall in fantasy scoring. I think Alec Burks could get to that in this situation. So it's maybe not the highest overall upside, but in that middle range where people seem to be sleeping on it, I'd rather have him for, $3 and change. But if I can get him at around the ask price or a little bit higher, I'm willing to take on some shares there. I think that could be one of the main cheap spots right now. A lot of these go up, like the cheap end goes up pretty quickly, and you get guys that should have been $1 and change going into the $3 and $4 range. So it becomes difficult to find these values post-lock.
Herbert Jones, 439. I know that he's not going to be popping in our projections by any means here. Let me figure out exactly where he landed. Garrett Temple, $2.20. See, that's low. $2.20 for Herbert Jones, low as well. Again, they're just too expensive here at this point. But like legitimately, You get to Willie Hernangomez at 471 in a prospective ad. I'd be okay getting to that pretty much either way, no doubt about it, because he becomes like an $8 guy in the event that if you think that news is 50-50, you should probably be investing in him anyway. Now that I'm saying that, I'm literally going to go buy a share.
And that's the old expression, right? Buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So you buy it now, sell it cheap. He's going to double in price if you get that starting news. You're just speculating on him being in the starting lineup. That will immediately jump, and then you can bail out of those shares for $8 a pop and not have to ride it all the way to closing. At closing, he would need, if you buy him for, let's say, $5, right? Cast a $5 net, he would need to finish top 34 or better to break even. I like his chances of getting toward that range if he's getting the starters run, but I like it better if I can double my money before we even have him take the court and not worry about it.
Yeah, it says that he's going through a game time decision, says that he's probable. So yeah, I'm assuming Jonas Valanciunas is there. He's listed as probable, but he did say before that he was a game time decision. I'm assuming that he's going to be good to go, but again, prospective ad to get a share at, 440. Sure. He's still somebody that in 20 minutes has the capability of doing it. And, I'm not assuming that Jonas Valanciunas is going to be limited here, but if he plays 30 and you get 18 here of Hernangomez as well, the guy, I know it doesn't seem like it, but he's a 1.3 fantasy point per minute player as well. That's the identical rate that we have from Jonas Valanciunas. So if they're splitting minutes at the 5, just something to be paying attention to. And of course, we are at lock of that next session of games. We're at the end of our show here, but any final words for you, Terry, on the way people need to be handling jock market, paying attention to some late swaps, anything that you really want to close out the show with?
Have a blast. It's really is my most fun, my currently, I don't want to say favorite site, but I will because they're sponsoring the show, but they're the most fun to play on right now. And particularly after lock, like I said, it's kind of a grind to make swaps, and you destroyed all the work that you did earlier in the day trying to get to the perfect lineups, and now you're just late swapping and hoping for the best in a lot of the other sites. Here you've got a lot of control over what you're buying, where you're selling it, what your plays are. If you're sharp and you understand how the scoring and how the salaries and the prices here work and where people are buying and selling these things, and you're paying attention to the news, you can make a killing on this site. So have a blast. I encourage everybody to check it out.
Yep, Burke's not starting. I don't think we expected him to. Walker, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Robinson. That was the news that came through. Jonas Valanciunas, good to go. He's playing. There you go. Yeah. Great to see that news on the way out here as well. Graham, Temple, Jones, Clark, Valanciunas. That's your starting lineup here for the New Orleans Pelicans. But again, we're at lock. Thank you so much to Jordan Klein producing over there. Don't forget to use promo code Awesemo at Jock Market, the sponsor here of the Live Before Lock show. Absolute blast hanging out with my buddy Terry, talking a little bit of their product. So much fun. We're going to get out of here. Rip John Madden. He seemed like a good dude. So I really don't know how to add anything to that. It was fun watching.
I think they bury him in a big
bus on the field. What was that?
Big coffin bust. Kind of got to do that, right?
Yep. Got it. Boom. Tough acted tonight.
Love it.